I'm going to start by just going over a little bit about what we do on the CATS team very quickly. My name's Grace LaRochelle, and I'm the Senior Manager for Children and Teen Services team here and your Eastern rep. CATS for short, for Children's and Teen Services, because as you all know, we love cats here at Baker and Taylor. Let us know in the chat where you're coming from. We love to hear where everybody's tuning in from across the country. So feel free to throw that in the chat. Just a little note with the chat, feel free to toggle if you want everyone to see your comments to the everyone, not just hosts and panelists as well. So the CATS team has been around for a long time, and our goal as a team is to support youth services librarians across the country with their workflow, collection development, programming, and community engagement needs. We love what we do on our team, and between all of us, we have over 50 years of boots on the ground experience as MLS librarians and children's book publishing professionals. Sarah and I, and also Deanna, are all librarians, and we have so much experience with the children's and teen realm, as does Allison Curtin, and we are just really excited to dive into our title talks today. So on the screen, you'll see this is a little bit of what we do, and it's a lot, but it all basically boils down to us being there for you in whatever capacity you may need. My colleague Sarah, who works with the western half of the states, and I work with the eastern half, we're both children's librarians for a long time. And so we are really excited to help you from the other side. I'll go over a few of these things quickly and mention some more in depth, but a few things I just want to point out are our summer reading prize book program that we do here on the CATS team. We've done this for about 7 years now, and it gets better every year. We offer deep discounts on a specific list of books from our many publishers that you can use for summer reading prizes or for any giveaways that you'd like to do year-round. This year, we're also offering, as we did last year, our temporary tattoos as a bonus to give to your patrons, and we're offering a smaller selection of titles to give away in the fall months too, for events like your winter reading programs or trunk or treat or 1,000 books before kindergarten. You'll also notice on this slide, I have a little QR code. If you're interested in learning more about summer reading, you can join us next week. Sarah and I will be talking about all of the fantastic books we have on the list this year. Paw Prints Pre-Binds is another one of our favorite programs on the CATS team. We offer a lifetime guarantee on all of our Paw Prints pre-bound books. You can see here in the picture, we've got those Bob books in one binding, much easier to circulate. You don't have to lose those flimsy books. They're really easy to lose. So once they're all bound together, it makes it really easy for your circulation department. If this ever falls apart on you, lifetime guarantee. You can just email us and we send you a new one for free. That includes if you have processing on it too. So we've put the new labels and stickers and things you need on it, ship it to you, no shipping costs or anything like that. So these are really fantastic. And we have several sales going on this year. If you are interested in that, we can send you more info on that as well. We are also now the exclusive distributor for Vox Books. I'm sure many of you use Vox Books in your library. You can throw that in the chat if you have a favorite. These are a few of my favorites. These are great for parents who have read the book 21 times and the 22nd time they just need a break and kids can listen to the story on their own. Then I just wanted to go over our Boundless Kids and Teens briefly. It's our ebook, e-media, talking book, activities, discussion guides, educator guides, all together in one app, one ecosystem. Just like your Apple Watch or your Fitbit tracks steps, this tracks your reading. And it comes with this bundle of video books, discussion guides, ebooks, like I said, video story times in a variety of languages, all in one yearly subscription price. You can empower your young patrons with this app as it provides a child profile and a teen profile. So kids and teens have their own digital space. Just like in the library where they have their own physical space, they also have their own digital space now too. One of the things I love most about this app is that you can absolutely brand it to your library, and you can even upload a YouTube video that doesn't take you out of the app and have your librarians themselves spreading messages about summer reading or upcoming events so children and teens can see their familiar librarian right in the app. Feel free to ask us any questions in the chat. If you have questions on that, we're happy to help. So if you have any questions on Boundless Kids and Teen or any of the other solutions that I've just discussed, please feel free to email us. We'll put our emails in the chat as well. Sarah and I are here to help you. And thank you all so much for joining today. This is one of our favorite events to run, and we're so glad that you're here. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We will be sending out the continuing education certificates after the presentation. And if you need to drop off for any reason, we will be recording. So we will send that to you most likely tomorrow in the next couple days. Again, please feel free to use the chat. We love to hear your feedback on these beautiful books that we're about to hear about. And if you have any questions, also throw those in the chat and we'll get to you. So we are going to get started with our fantastic publishers before we get to Evie's boy at the end when we'll interview her. But we're going to dive right in to the spring 2025 offerings. And we're going to start off with Rita King from Random House. Thank you so much, Rita.
Hi, thanks so much to B&T for hosting this wonderful event. My name is Rita King, and I'm the National Account Manager for Random House Children's Books. And we have a lot of great teen reads for spring 2025, but today I want to just highlight a few. So feel free to request to read any of our digital ARCs by visiting NetGalley. Some of them are also in Idlewise, and we would love to hear from you. And is my screen being shared, or is there? I don't see the PowerPoint.
Oh, is that the case for everyone? I have it shared.
Okay, great. It's just me. I must have pressed the wrong button. So we'll move on. I'm going to start with Brielle and Bear, Volume 1. Brielle and Bear is a modern retelling of the classic Beauty and the Beast story. Set against the enchanting backdrop of Once Upon a Time University, it is perfect for fans of Heartstopper and Crumbs. This graphic novel captures the magic and romance of first-year university students Brielle and Bear, and the fairy tale they are destined to live. Once upon a time, Brielle met Bear, and then they fell in love. But that's just the beginning. Fairy tales have a way of twisting and swirling before you get to happily ever after. And though modern day Once Upon a Time University first year Brielle is a dreamer, always with her nose in a book, her imagination can't help but run wild with potential romance. To her, Bear is perfect, until Brielle discovers a secret he's been hiding for a long time that just might shatter their fairy tale love. This is Salome's Doku's first YA graphic and in her first book with Random House. The art is stunning, the color palette is bright and fresh, the characters are diverse, each coming from a different background. And at just under 200 pages, this tale covers Brielle and Bear's first semester at Once Upon a Time University, making it a perfect bingeable read. And we have book 2 coming in 2026. Readers can expect a magical return to Once Upon a Time University in book 2, which covers the second semester of Brielle and Bear's first year. And our next title is Samadina by Okweke Amaeze. This is an action-packed world adjacent to West Africa, featuring Black and queer characters, and will appeal to fans of Children of Blood and Bone and the Gilded Ones. It also includes a subtle romance. It explores what it means to be otherized in a community and features powerful characters. Samadina and her twin brother share an unbreakable bond, finishing each other's sentences and making each other whole. And as they come of age, their magical gifts begin to emerge. But while her twins' powers enchant, Samadina's instill fear throughout their town. Always an outsider, Samadina now faces blatant and dangerous hostility, and things go from bad to worse when her brother, the only person that she trusted, vanishes. She knows that no matter the danger, she must track him down, even if it means entering the sacred forest, even if it means grueling otherworldly travel she may not survive, even if it means finding the hidden places where those closest to the spirit world don't dare to go. Does Samanita have the strength within her body and her soul? We'll see. From the National Book Awarding finalist and author of Pet comes a spellbinding novel set in a magic West African world. You follow a brave teen girl as she embarks on a perilous journey to rescue her missing twin while discovering her own formidable powers. And next we have On the Wings of La Noche by Vanessa Torres. This story transcends life and death. Noche is not your average teenager. By day, she's a lonely science girl mourning the tragic accidental drowning of her girlfriend, Dante. And by night, she transforms into Lechuza, an ethereal jet black owl tasked with guiding souls to the afterlife. But Noche faces an impossible dilemma. She cannot bring herself to escort Dante's soul, which fades more with each passing night. And now comes Jax, the new kid in town and a fellow science enthusiast. Drawn together by an invisible thread, Noche begins to imagine a life beyond her grief, one where she might find happiness again. Yet, as her heart starts to beat for both Jax and Dante, guilt and confusion consume her. With time running out, Noche must confront her deepest fears and question her purpose as a lechuza. This is steeped in rich Mexican folklore and set against a contemporary backdrop. On the Wings of La Noche is a gothic romance that will captivate fans of shows like Sabrina and Riverdale, as well as readers who love angsty star-crossed. This hauntingly beautiful tale, filled with graveyards, morgues, and ravens, brings to life the darker elements of being a lechuza, all while exploring themes of love, loss, and self-discovery. It is a spellbinding, hauntingly beautiful story that weaves together love, loss, and the supernatural. And there's a compelling love triangle at its center for fans of who love angsty romance reads. In our next slide, we have Romance by Joy Revolution. And we have two Joy Revolution romance novels coming out that I wanted to talk about today. Love on Paper is a heartfelt romance about two aspiring teen novelists finding love, good food, and a little bit of mystery at an exclusive writer's retreat. Macy is a writer. Who cares if her best-selling author mother pulls some strings to get her into this prestigious writing retreat? Macy belongs here, even when the coordinators unexpectedly announce that this year's theme is romance. Macy, who is a total cynic, is up for the challenge, but she's not prepared for her partner to be fellow publisher Nepo baby Caleb Bernard. While Caleb may be the most Caleb may be what most romance writers would describe as swoony, he's off limits because the Toscanos and Bernards have beef. With a chance at publication at their fingertips, though, Macy and Caleb have to put aside their issues. But is 4 weeks enough time to fight through writer's block, step out of their parents' shadows, and find the courage to create their own love story? This is a relatable, romantic, fun read, much like Danielle's debut novel, You Bet Your Heart. And then we have Brewed with Love. This is a cozy contemporary romantasy debut about a teen witch who wants to keep her family's apothecary from falling to the competition, but can only do so with the assistance from her first crush. Sage Bishop intends to run her family's apothecary one day. The doors just have to stay open until she can take over from her nana. That's why she spends all of her time perfecting a tonic that'll put Bishop Brews on the map. She certainly doesn't need their latest hire and her ex-best friend causing any distractions. And alas, at the first sight of her friend's cheeky smile, Sage flees the shop, allowing some to break into Bishop Brews and steal the tonic she's been tinkering with. With Bishop Brew's reputation on the line, Sage reluctantly partners with her friend to find the culprit. And as the mystery deepens, so do pesky old feelings. Will she be able to resist the charm of her friend, coworker, or will she let it work its magic for a second chance at love? This is a fast-paced and fun contemporary fantasy with magic, mystery, and a sweet romance. And now we have some romance by Delacorte. We launched our new Delacorte romance for teens this summer, and I hope all of you have had a chance to see them. They even have some crossover appeal as well. The first one is While We're Young, one of my favorites. It's Grace, Izza, and Everett used to be an inseparable trio before their love lives became a tangled mess. For starters, Grace is secretly in love with Everett, who used to go out with Issa before breaking her heart in the infamous freshman year fracture. Oh, and no one knows that Issa has been hanging out with James, Grace's brother, and if Grace finds out, it could ruin their friendship. So while graduation is fast approaching, Grace decides an unsanctioned senior trip day in Philadelphia might just be what they all need. All she has to do is convince Issa to help her kidnap Everett and outmaneuver James, who's certain his sister is up to something. And an epic day that includes racing up the famous Rocky Steps, taste testing Philly's finest cheesecakes, and even crashing a wedding. Their secrets are bound to collide. But can their hearts withstand the wreckage? This book is a whirlwind romance inspired by Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which you might have already guessed by now, about four friends whose hearts are broken and mended over the course of an epic senior skip day. And great for fans of K.O. Walker's other titles, such as The Summer of Broken Rules. This title has great crossover appeal for any adults that love Ferris Bueller's Day Off or just like that teenage dream nostalgic vibe. And then we have Better Than Revenge, a swoony romance complete with an ex-football player boyfriend and a podcast dream and a plan for revenge. 17-year-old Finley has only ever had one goal, and that is to become a famous podcaster. And this includes coming up with the perfect pitch to land her on her school's podcast team. But when her football-obsessed boyfriend Jensen decides to also try out and he uses her idea, she's left confused and betrayed. So determined to get back at him, Finley and her friends try to find the perfect revenge scheme, but quickly discover that Jensen is almost impossible to beat. And that keyword is almost. By chance, Finley discovers a knack for kicking and decides to take Jensen's spot on the football team. And to help her train, she recruits Jensen's cute but conceited nemesis, Theo. And soon the two have discovered their connection runs deeper than football. But Finley can't let herself get distracted. And Theo has secrets of his own. Is true love really better than the perfect revenge? Casey West's YA romance fans will be excited for her new title as she is also committed to publishing more YA. And readers will love the Q&A and the fun back matter. And Every Borrowed Beat, this is for fans of 5 Feet Apart. And it's an emotional and romantic YA that also has the realities of heart failure, grief, guilt, and what it means to live. Sydney Wells should have died. She never expected after years of waiting to receive a heart transplant. Now at 17, Sydney doesn't know what to do with her life. Her daily routine consists of staying indoors, eating heart-healthy foods, and posting about her transplant experiences on the waiting list with her long-distance best friend and her heart failure buddy, Chloe. And now Sydney latches on to one thing that gives her meaning, learning as much as she can about the person whose heart she inherited. After finding the family of her likely donor, Mia, Sydney falls deep into her world. It may also be falling for Mia's best friend, Clayton. But Sydney isn't the only one hiding something. Mia's brother, Tanner, won't talk to Clayton, and Clayton won't tell Sydney why. And hundreds of miles away, Chloe's health has taken a turn for the worse. Sydney needs to face what's in her heart, the truth, the guilt, and the future before it's too late. And this is great. This story was inspired by the author's own experiences with heart failure, and she does include a note about her personal stake in the story. And this book will make you laugh, cry, and fall in love with the characters as they discover each other and themselves. And The Last Bookstore on Earth. I love a great post-apocalyptic YA, and you won't want to miss this emotional post-apocalyptic stellar debut. It is a thoroughly original, intimate, and sometimes harrowing meditation on survival, forgiveness, and learning how to love again at the almost end of the world. The world is about to end again. Ever since the first storm wreaked havoc on civilization as we know it, 17-year-old Liz Flannery has been living in an abandoned bookstore in suburban New Jersey, where she used to work, trading books for supplies with the few remaining survivors. It's the one place that's left that makes her feel safe. Until she learns that another earth-shattering storm is coming and everything's changing. And then she meets Maeve, a prickly and potential dangerous out-of-towner who breaks into the bookstore looking for shelter one night. Though the two girls are immediately at odds, Maeve has what Liz needs. She has the skills to repair the dilapidated store before the next climate disaster strikes. And so Liz reluctantly agrees to let her stay. And as the girls grow closer and undeniable feelings spring up between them, they realize that they face greater threats than the impending storm. And when Maeve's secrets and Liz's inner demons come back to haunt them both, they find themselves fighting for their lives as their world crumbles around them. The topic of climate change dominating national discussions, this is as much environmental suspense as it is contemporary apocalypse. The author is a junior at Smith College, and we can't wait to see what is in her future. This is one of our most requested titles on NetGalley, and I just want to read you just two of the responses that we have gotten so far. This is going to be an instant hit with young adult and new adult readers. It has heart, drama, suspense, romance, and books. What more could you want? The last bookstore on earth is an impressive debut. And then also this story has a great blend of tense action and emotional moments between characters. Liz's backstory is one I won't forget anytime soon. I loved all the references to some of the author's favorite books and can't wait for readers to discover this on their shelves. And then we'll move on to Dead Happy by Josh Silver. This is the second book of the Happy Head duology. Happy Head was just released October 22nd, and then if you haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, now is your chance. And Dead Happy will be here soon, so fans will not have to wait too long to find out what happens next. So in this book, the experiment continues in a dark and disturbingly thrilling book. Seb was sure surviving the experimental health center at Happy Head would be enough to send him home. But now he joins the top 10 contestants in the next stage of the testing, which will take place on a remote island, under the watchful eye of a mysterious couple. Unsure if Finn is dead or alive, Seb reluctantly teams up with Eleanor again as the pair are forced to compete in a series of ever stranger trials to reprove their connection and get their lives back. But Seb can't stop thinking about Finn and how he might have been too much of a threat to the program. Determined to find him, Seb's search uncovers an even darker reality, and the only way to escape the island will be to expose the sinister truth behind Happy Head once and for all. These books tackle the health crisis plaguing teenagers today, and it's equal parts thriller, dystopian, and love story. Josh works with teenagers as a mental health nurse, and the first book, Happy Head, was his debut. And next we have Murder Between Friends. This is a bingeable new mystery told with multiple perspectives. 2 years ago, the murder of an English teacher shattered the lives of three best friends, Grace, Henry, and Allie. Grace, Henry, and Allie grew up together on the same block. They used to be best friends until Grace's testimony put Henry's brother, Jake, away for killing their English teacher. And now 2 years later, Allie and Henry hate Grace, and Grace is doubting what she thinks she saw that night. So it feels like everyone's going to be getting a second chance, but due to a mistrial, Jake is suddenly released, and Henry knows his brother is innocent. But when Grace reaches out to say she's rethinking what she saw the night of the murder, Jake's reaction is confusing. He doesn't want Henry or Grace getting involved. And for Allie, not getting involved isn't an option. And there's Grace can say to convince Allie she's not the enemy. But can Allie afford to push Grace out when she's one of the only other people willing to believe in Jake's innocence? So the clock is ticking. Jake's new trial date is about to be set, and he's sure to be found guilty again unless there's new evidence to prove he's innocent. And Grace, Henry, and Allie are going to have to decide whether you can trust an old friend now that they're your enemy. So this new thriller is great for fans of One of Us is Lying from New York Times bestselling author of the Agathas, Liz Lawson. This title is also one of our most requested titles on NetGalley, and we would love for you to get a chance to read it as well as let us know what you think. And my last title for today is Snow Globe 2. This is a sequel to one of my favorite teen titles that came out last spring. And this is a duology. And just to give you a synopsis, if you haven't read the first one, Shobam's perfect life in Snow Globe came crashing down when she discovered the truth about Hari, the girl she watched faithfully on television, was far from perfect. And the TV family, revered by millions, was nothing more than an illusion created by the Iban Media Corporation. Nothing's as it seems, and carefully curate programs released from Snow Globe. But revealing the lies behind the Iban Media Group was only the first crack in Snow Globe, and suddenly heat is rising inside the domed utopia, and with the soaring temperatures come new secrets. Shobam learned that you can't believe what you see in Snow Globe, but the millions of viewers watching have no idea what the truth is. So when footage emerges of Shobam committing a murder, she knows someone's out to get her. The only person who can help to clear her name is no other than the disgraced Debon heir Banwi. And Banwi knows better than anyone that enemies exist everywhere in Snow Globe, and sometimes you can't even trust yourself. This novel is complete with twists and turns you won't see coming, and Snow Globe was left with a cliffhanger that readers will be dying to find out what happens next. It has great adult crossover title. It's for fans of Squid Game, K-dramas, and really any reality TV drama show. And if there's anyone looking for a great teen prize book for next summer, Snow Globe 1 is on the BMT's prize book list for 2025. So thank you, and I hope you get a chance to preview some of our spring titles and let us know what you think, and check out some of our other titles that we didn't get to today. There are some great ones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita. So many books being added to my to be read list. I don't know about all of you. So we're going to have Sarah Danver from Penguin next.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who weren't part of our morning session, I'm Sarah Danver, and I'm the account rep for Penguin Young Readers, a division of Penguin Random House. And I am so excited to be here to give you an overview of some of our best titles publishing in spring 2025. Next slide. Our first YA novel is the newest mystery thriller from none other than Jessica Goodman. The New York Times bestselling author of The Way They Wish They Were Us and The Counselors is back with her latest page-turner set at a prestigious New England boarding school. The first week of senior year at Meadowbrook Academy is full of late-night parties, bike rides, and the crisp beginning of a New England fall. But when those halcyon days are marred by the murder of 2 students, the campus is suddenly full of suspicion. Liz, the editor of the school newspaper, is determined to uncover the truth. But the deeper she digs, the messier the truth becomes, and with a killer still on campus, she can't afford to make any mistakes. This is a gripping mystery about the inextricable way power, privilege, and secrets are linked, and the deadly price of telling the truth. Jessica Goodman is so good at these delicious thrillers. She really knows how to keep you turning the pages. And as New York Times bestselling author Danielle Valentine says, this is the perfect dark academia read filled with murder, twists, a jaw-dropping mystery, and the very privileged people doing deliciously bad things. You won't be able to put it down. Next slide. All right, so we are also so excited to share the second book in Melissa de la Cruz's Romantasy duology inspired by Filipino folklore. As Booklist says, it's an irresistible tale that will sweep readers off their feet, a promising, culturally rich Filipino-infused fantasy series, and an entertaining tale with romance, intrigue, and magic. The Encanto's curse picks up at the heart-stopping cliffhanger where the Encanto's daughter left off, and now the newly crowned vampire queen must break her own curse while war gathers on the horizon, and she tries to mend her broken heart. In this duology, industry dynamo and #1 New York Times bestselling author Melissa de la Cruz pays homage to her own history and her own culture with her first ever fantasy series inspired by Filipino lore and with a Filipina heroine at the helm. This is a unique and mesmerizing offering in the romantic fantasy space, with a delightful and complex magic system that hardcore fantasy readers will enjoy, and a riveting and lush romance to entice the readers of Divine Rivals, Lightlark, and Belladonna. Like I said, Booklist calls this an irresistible tale that will sweep readers off their feet, and we could not agree more. All right, next slide. All right. The Otherwhere Post is the newest novel from Emily J. Taylor, whose stunning debut, Hotel Magnifique, became an instant New York Times bestseller. This newest standalone is another dark, magical, and utterly compelling read that will delight Emily's existing fans and introduce her to new ones. 7 years ago, Maeve Abernathy lost everything. Now, desperate to escape the strain of her father's crimes, she lives under a fake name, never staying in one place long enough to put down roots. Then she receives a mysterious letter with 4 impossible words. Your father was innocent. To uncover the truth, she poses as an apprentice for the Otherwhere Post, where she'll be trained in the dangerous magic that allows couriers to enchant letters and deliver them to other worlds. But between her secretive, infuriatingly handsome mentor and the threatening letters she's receiving, looking into her father's past draws more attention than she planned. Readers will love to sink into this delicately crafted, Edwardian-inspired academic setting. This book winds through old stone halls and libraries full of parchment doused in magic and possibly murder. It's the dark academia, delicious romance of your dreams. Hotel Magnifique was an instant bestseller, a Kirkus Best Book of 2022, and a Goodreads Choice Award nominee. And we expect nothing less for Emily J. Taylor's spectacular sophomore novel, The Otherwhere Post. All right, next slide. All right, so with these blurbs from YA superstars John Green and Marcus Zuzak, this novel almost speaks for itself. A brilliant book, John Green says, about what we survive and how. Marcus Zuzak called it heartfelt, human, and true. I Am the Cage is an emotional coming-of-age story about a young woman running away from herself, and yet desperate to find her way back. It's a deeply moving, authentically raw, and it hums with the possibility of new love. 19-year-old Elizabeth is determined to be alone, hiding from her memories and making sure no one can ever hurt her again. So she cloisters herself in a tiny cabin in beautiful, isolated Fish Creek, Wisconsin. But when a massive snowstorm strikes, Elizabeth finally allows herself to accept help from her neighbor, Noah, the town's young sheriff. Forced to show him more vulnerability than she ever intended, Elizabeth realizes she can no longer outrun the scars of her childhood, and facing the darkness might be exactly what she needs to let the light in. In a searing Own Voices story about disability, accented by poignant childhood flashbacks and stunning poetry, Alison Sweet Grant's young adult debut is a quietly powerful portrait of a young woman's journey to confront the medical trauma inflicted to quote-unquote fix her and heal her heart in the process. This is a contemporary crossover YA at its finest, a brutally honest portrait of pain, of the relationship between mothers and daughters, and is sure to become the book of so many readers' hearts. Okay, next slide. Everything is Poison. So we're really thrilled to bring you a new historical novel, YA novel from Joy McCullough. Everything is Poison. In the style of her previous critically acclaimed novel, Blood, Water, Paint, Everything is Poison combines prose and verse to create the kind of historical fiction that makes you think as much about the present as it transports you to the past. I just love looking at this slide. I love seeing all those stars in a row. In early 17th century Rome, we meet Carmela Tofana. For as long as she can remember, Carmela has desperately wanted one thing: to be part of her mother's apothecary. When she finally turns 16, she's allowed into the inner sanctum, the workroom where her mother and 2 assistants craft renowned remedies for their customers. But for every sweet-smelling flower extract in the workroom, there's a potion requiring darker ingredients, and the women who come through the doors are sometimes looking for solutions to problems that are beyond Carmela's understanding. In all of Carmela's years of wishing to follow in her mother's footsteps, she never realized how close she was to death. This is a really brilliant and innovative novel that feels desperately relevant. McCullough manages to weave a ton of suspense into this thought-provoking feminist story about what women do when they're in dire straits, and it celebrates intergenerational female friendship, perfect for the fans of The Lost Apothecary. Next slide. All right, so best-selling author of The Rebel of the Sands, Alwyn Hamilton, is back. We're so excited about this. It's been a little too long, but it was totally worth the wait. This is a glittering fantasy thriller about a glamorous media darling, a surprise heiress, and the magical competition of a lifetime. At 16, Nora Holtzfall is the daughter of the most powerful heiress in all of Wallstad. Her family controls all the money and all the magic in the entire country. But despite being the center of attention, Nora has always felt like an outsider. When her mother is found dead in an alley, the family throne and fortune are suddenly up for grabs, and Nora will be pitted against her cousins in the Veritas, the ultimate magical competition for power that determines the one family heir. But there's a surprise contestant this time, Lottie, the illegitimate daughter of Nora's aunt. While the dangers of the Veritas competition threaten each of the Holtzfall girls, and the stark class differences turn political outrage to terrifying violence, the new cousins must fight to stay alive, no matter what. Readers will love the blend of ancient fairy tale magic with the champagne-soaked decadence of the 1920s. Plus, a kidnapped orphan raised with false identity, a glamorous fashion icon raised in the spotlight, a dashing double agent, and a scrappy, handsome journalist make for a delicious read. This is an exhilarating and page-turning fantasy perfect for fans of Marissa Mayer's Gilded and Stephanie Garber's Once Upon a Broken Heart. Readers won't be able to put this one down. Next slide. All right, so Kate Pearsall is back with a haunting companion novel to Bittersweet in the Hollow about a girl who can smell the lives of others and who thus uncovers the incendiary mysteries of her small Appalachian town. 18-year-old Rowan James has spent her whole life harboring unpleasant truths. That's what happens when you can smell lies in the teller's breath, and building walls around herself to block them out. So when her old rival, Hadrian Fitch, shows up on her front porch, bloodied and bruised and asking for the kind of help only she can provide, her first instinct is distrust. Except Hadrian's attack isn't the only strange occurrence, and rumors of a new monster prowling the hollow begin to swirl. But how can Rowan smoke out the culprit in a town full of secrets? And worse, how can Rowan trust beautiful, sullen Hadrian when every other word he speaks has the distinct burnt smell of a lie? Kate Pearsall is an author to watch. Having deep roots in the Appalachian Mountains, she expertly captures the breathtaking bucolic setting and rich culture of Appalachia. And one of the reasons I'm so excited to have this one on our list is because I know this is a part of the country that doesn't often get this treatment. But Kate really brings out its beauty and its mystery and its culture into this novel. With lyrical prose, a touch of magic, and spellbinding allure, Lies on the Serpent's Tongue is a deeply immersive read that will appeal to fans of Rory Power, Natasha Preston, and Shay M. Shaw. Next slide. All right, Shauna Yugdal, the critically acclaimed author of As Many Nows as I Can Get, has a new novel that looks at what is lost and discovers what remains and how a family can be nearly destroyed again and again and still survive. 17-year-old Caprice wants to piece her family back together now that her older brother has returned home, even as she resents that he ever broke them apart. Just as she is starting to get a new footing, falling in love for the first time, uncertainly mending her traumatized relationship with her brother, completing the application that will win her a college scholarship and a job in tech, wildfire strikes Sierra, her small California town, forcing her to reckon with a future that is impossible to predict. This is a love story of many kinds and a reflection of the terrifying, heartbreaking wildfires that ravaged Paradise, California, where the author grew up, and which burnt up in the Camp Fire of 2018. I think as climate change continues to grow in power and impact, we're going to be seeing a lot more of those kinds of wildfires, and it's so important that readers are able to process and experience those experiences through novels like this. This is a story about survival and healing of all sorts, a powerful and accessible tale of family featuring 3 generations, plus a core sibling relationship that can attract a wide readership. This is one you won't want to miss. All right, next slide. All right, so these next novels each feature strong, vulnerable young women who are trying to figure it out. The first is Katie Barrell's What Comes After, which is a darkly comical, heartfelt novel about a 16-year-old girl who has only 90 days to remember how she died and make peace with her mother to escape spending eternity in the vast nothingness of the afterlife. Katie imagines the afterlife quite ironically as equal parts suburban gated community and a self-help retreat. It's the perfect setup not only for good comedy, but also for what good comedy does best, training a critical eye on everything we take for granted, from social media to celebrity culture to even meditation. Katie grabs the mic to great effect. This is a really darkly funny, interesting novel about the afterlife and about what happens after death, and about coming to grips with what happens in our life. It's perfect for fans of Adam Silvera and The Good Place. I Am the Swarm is a captivating novel in verse, an intense emotional read simmering with rage and magic. Full of strange magical realism and emotional nuance and depth, this speculative novel in verse could not be written in a better medium. This truly is Jenny Nelson's contemporary magic meets Shout's simmering rage, and readers will feel seen by the novel's heartbreaking vulnerability as the women in the story deal with the curse that has been placed upon them. And then for fans of Frankly in Love and Tokyo Ever After, we have First Love Language. This is a debut novel that is both fresh and fun and romantic, as well as a profound, luminous story about grief, family, transracial adoption, and what it means to truly follow your heart. Author Stephanie Valentine is a transracial adoptee herself, whose mom also disappeared when Stephanie moved from Taiwan to America. Her young adult debut is thus extremely meaningful to her and hopefully to all transracial adoptees who pick it up and readers with absent parents. Stephanie really does a truly fantastic job of marrying a really wonderful, fun romance, but with these dark, deeper themes that will have readers kind of keep coming back to this one. All right, next slide. We're also really excited to be publishing these next 3 novels as paperback originals. Say a Little Prayer is a sharply funny, wry-humored, and yet heartfelt tale of a teen who takes her church camp by storm. She's sent there as a punishment. It's either suspension or church camp. And she decides she's going to take church camp by storm by doing a different activity to highlight the 7 deadly sins one day at a time. Jenna Voice explores what the conservative Christian church represents to a diverse cast of queer characters, centering their voices without ever portraying them as a monolith. This is kind of Saved meets Casey McQuiston, and as a huge fan of both Saved and Casey McQuiston, I picked this one up immediately and is just as funny and just as smart as you would hope. Deadstream, a little bit of a different vein, is a sinister YA thriller in which a teen witnesses the live-streamed murder of a popular online streamer by a paranormal entity and could be its next victim. This is kind of Rear Window meets The Ring. It's about a girl who's facing some agoraphobia, as well as some bullying and some home issues, and how it talks about a lot about how kids are using the internet to cope, but it also has this kind of creepy paranormal element to it. It's also a really fun format. It kind of includes a stream chat, which makes it a really unique offering and fills a cool niche about today's internet culture. And then finally, X Marks the Spot is the latest YA novel by acclaimed writer Gloria Chow, which takes readers on a soaring adventure through love, loss, and the lively streets of Taiwan. Filled with ingenious puzzles, a vibrant Taipei setting, and a delicious romance, X Marks the Spot is an exciting adventure by award-winning author Gloria Chow, perfect for fans of Love Boat Taipei, The Inheritance Games, and a book that has always been very close to my heart, 13 Little Blue Envelopes. Okay, next slide. There we go. So we have 2 YA graphic novels I want to share with you today. So in the hilarious and poignant follow-up to National Book Award finalist Who Da F Cares, Who Da F Wants to Know, life is turned upside down when Huda's parents announce they're divorcing. Huda is devastated. She worries about what this will mean for her family, their place in the Muslim community, and her future. Her grades start tanking, she has a big fight with her best friend, and everything feels out of control. Will her life ever feel normal again? Who Da F Wants to Know? This graphic novel explores what it's like to grow up Muslim in America with joy and humor. It's the perfect balance of big themes like identity, faith, dating, and family, told in a down-to-earth voice that readers can't get enough of. And then, in quite a different vein, the flip side is a breathtaking, page-turning graphic novel and a supernatural survival story in which a grieving teen finds himself in a haunting alternate reality, the frightening embodiment of his depression. Theo's best friend has died, and he can't pull himself out of the sadness, a sadness those around him don't seem to respect or even notice. He feels like he's walking through life while everyone around him forgetting about the biggest thing that's happened to him and the thing that's weighing him down. And then something even more disconcerting happens. His town literally flips upside down, and everyone disappears except for a threatening, shape-shifting monster and a snarky teenage girl who knows her way around the flipped world. It does have a little bit of a Stranger Things-esque vibe to it. You'll sense that in the idea of the upside down, although it does function much more literally than what it happens in Stranger Things. Fans of Stranger Things and Nimona will adore the smart and stylish supernatural setting and action-packed storyline. This is tremendously unique and suspenseful, and the flip side tackles grief and depression in a fascinating and affecting way. I think teens who have been through loss will find something to love in this, and I think also teens who are just looking for something that's really interesting and riveting will also find a lot to love here. And then last slide. So some of you may have seen the announcement of about this last title. John Green's advocacy around tuberculosis has become the stuff of legend in the past few years. He's won a lot of awards for it. He's been talking about it pretty much constantly. And so it is no surprise that he is also publishing a book on the subject. I think it's important to note that, like I say on the slide, John has joined a lot of groups organizing around stopping tuberculosis. This is a curable disease that still takes the lives of way too many people per year. And that's part of why John Green has been focusing on it, is, in an effort to make sure that people are getting access to treatment that should be available to everyone. While we're publishing this as adult nonfiction, I know what John Green means to the YA community and to teens and the librarians who serve them. So I want to make sure you all got a sneak peek. So just a little bit of an overview of the book. In 2019, John Green met Henry, a young tuberculosis patient at the Laka Government Hospital in Sierra Leone while traveling with Partners in Health. John became fast friends with Henry, a boy with spindly legs and a big goofy smile. And in Everything is Tuberculosis, John tells Henry's story, woven through with the scientific and social histories of how tuberculosis has shaped our world and how our choices will shape the future of tuberculosis. In very classic John Green style, he tells an incredibly important and wonderful story, but he's also able to make it this very riveting history and educational moment around these wider cultural and scientific implications of tuberculosis. Apparently, tuberculosis is where the Stetson hat came from, which I had no idea until we started selling this book. So we're so excited to have John Green back on our list. We are going to you'll be seeing a lot more from this new crash course imprint that we'll have around John Green in the future. And in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoy Everything is Tuberculosis. And that's it from me. So thank you so much, everybody, for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was fantastic. We are going to move right along to Jody Stigliano from Scholastic. And I will mute and turn my video off as soon as we see Jody.
Great. Thanks so much, Grace.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Scholastic Spring 2020-25 highlights. Thank you so much, Baker and Taylor, for having us. I'm excited to share our fascinating and exciting list. Next slide, please. Just wanted to highlight some of our marketing opportunities. Each season we put together a digital catalog that lives on Baker's TS360 platform. So spring 2025, you will see here, will be up shortly. It's chock full of resources and click-throughs. We have for our teen and YA new titles, display ideas, discussion guides, book club resources, author Q&As, and so much more. So just wanted to flash some of our spring 2025 assets. We have read-alikes, and these author letters just help you learn so much more about the authors and the books themselves and their inspiration. So look for that to come shortly. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the book that we've all been waiting for. We had an exclusive cover reveal with the Today Show 2 weeks ago. So I wasn't able to add the cover when the presentation was due, but did want to flash, if you all haven't seen the cover, this printout isn't even doing this cover justice. It is a vibrant, brilliant purple. But we are so excited for this title. Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins revisits the world of Panem 24 years before the events of the Hunger Games. When you've been set up to lose everything you love, what is there left to fight for? As the day dawns on the 50th annual Hunger Games, fear grips the districts of Panem. This year, in honor of the quarter quell, twice as many tributes will be taken from their homes. Back in District 12, Hamish Abernathy is trying not to think too hard about his chances. All he cares about is making it through the day and being with the girl he loves. When Hamish's name is called, he can feel all his dreams break. He's torn from his family and his love, shuttled to the capital with the 3 other District 12 tributes, a young friend who's nearly a sister to him, a compulsive odds maker, and the most stuck-up girl in town. As the games begin, Hamish understands he's been set up to fail, but there's something in him that wants to fight and have that fight reverberate far beyond the deadly arena. So I have not personally read this title. Only a select number of people have been able to read the manuscript, but I've heard from them, including Suzanne's longtime editor, David Levinthan, who said that this is Suzanne at her best. And our VP of marketing said that she came out of the room, her hair was a mess and she was in tears. And she said, this book is everything. So we are so excited for the read. Me personally, it is sure to be one of the most buzzed about books of the spring. So on returning to the world of the Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins said, with Sunrise, I was inspired by David Hume's idea of implicit submission. And in his words, the easiness with which the many are governed by the few. The story also lent itself to a deeper dive into the use of propaganda and the power of those who control the narrative. The question, real or not real, seems more pressing to me every day. So this couldn't be more timely, and we can't wait to announce it to the world. So we, as we have in the past, we will have assets for this title, including all her backlist. We know that Sunrise at Midnight parties will be a thing, and so we will have assets, an author letter, a Q&A with David, and we're going to be updating our book club guides for the entire series because this is just a phenomenal moment. So excited for this one. Okay, next slide, please. Run Away With Me by Brian Selznick. We all love Brian Selznick for his best-selling titles, The Invention of Hugo Cabret, and most recently, Big Tree. So now Brian brings his quintessential narrative and illustrative luster to the space of queer YA romance. Run Away With Me is a stunning creation, weaving words and illustration to tell the story of a transformative love over the course of one Roman summer. Danny is spending his 16th summer in Rome with his mother. While she's at work, he wanders the ancient sites and streets. He encounters a shadow who becomes a voice, who becomes a boy his age, Angelo. Soon, Danny and Angelo are spending as much time as they can together, piecing together stories of the city, while only gradually letting their own histories be shared. Attraction leads to affection, and affection leads to both an intimate closeness. Danny has never really had a home or known the love of another boy. Angelo seems to have more experience, but he also has secrets just out of Danny's reach. We know that this title will have huge crossover appeal for fans of Call Me By Your Name, the Heartstopper series, and Aristotle and Dante. We're so excited to have Brian back on our list in YA, his YA debut. We will suggest a first chapter Friday video and pursuing a video between Brian and his editor, David, in conversation. I know they're friends, and I think that'll be a really fun learn more about the pair. We also have an author letter and an infographic, a read-alike, because this title is just phenomenal. Can't wait for you all to read this one. Okay, next title, please. And this is just a glimpse into the illustration. So this novel isn't fully illustrated like his others, like The Invention of Hugo Cabret, but it will have his amazing drawings throughout that will add dimensions to the story. Okay, next slide. The Best of All Worlds by Kenneth Opel. In this masterpiece, award-winning author Kenneth Opel builds to a heart-stopping pitch in drawing a story that feels very much of our moment, where our very human choices collectively lead to humanity's eventual fate. Xavier doesn't want to go to the cabin with his dad and his dad's pregnant new wife, but family obligations are family obligations, and it's only for a short time. So he leaves his mom, his brother, and his other friends behind for a week in the woods. Only one morning he wakes up and the house isn't where it was before. It's like it's been lifted and placed somewhere else. When Xavier, his dad, and Nia go explore, they find they're inside of a dome, trapped, and there's no one else around. Until 3 years later, another family arrives. Is there any escape? Is there any reason that they are stuck where they are? Different people have different answers, and those different answers lead to tension, strife, and sacrifice. So David Everett Levinson is also the editor of this book, and he says that he promises as soon as you finish it, you'll want to talk to someone about it. And I totally agree. This is one that you need to read to the end. It has you on the edge of your seat the entire time, the entire 256 pages. It's a definite nail biter. So this is for fans of A.S. King, M.T. Anderson, and Margaret Atwood. So excited about this one. Okay, next slide, please. The Family I'm In by Sharon G. Flake. Sharon's groundbreaking novel, The Skin I'm In, ushered in a new voice that lit up the literary landscape and became a modern classic, passed down through generations. The Life I'm In, its sequel, furthered the power of unmistakable voices, opening the hearts and minds of teens everywhere. Now, this story presents John and Caleb, friends since childhood, who have come face to face with the struggles and triumphs of growing into young men. They're living in a world where many Black boys are up against generational expectations, fears of the future, and how to navigate being nice kids who just want to be seen for who they are. Together, they work through family illness, divorced parents, teachers who ask hard questions, and girls who think they have all the answers. This novel rounds out the trilogy, bringing together a stunning collection for modern readers. Okay, next slide. And our last title, I Am Made of Death by Kelly Andrew. So I super fangirl over anything Kelly writes, and this is her most commercial title. It's a captivating gothic horror about a girl entangled in a mysterious battle to reclaim her body from an insidious evil and a boy who finds himself unable to step away. Something is lurking inside of Vivian, and she plans to rip it out. A selective mute, Vivian hasn't said a word in years, not since going missing in Red Rock Canyon when she was 4 years old. No one quite knows what happens to her out in the dark. They only know that the sound of her voice is now as deadly as a poison. Anyone who hears her speak suffers a horrible death. Ever since that fatal family vacation, Vivian has been desperately searching for a way to regain control of both her voice and her body. Because the face staring out in the mirror isn't hers, it's something with teeth. Vivian's overprotective parents hire Thomas as an interpreter, but the job isn't without its challenges. Thomas is expected to accompany Vivian wherever she goes, but from the start, she seems determined to shake them. The energy between these two is electric and deadly. So Kelly says that The Whispering Dark, her first book, is a book of her mind. Her second book, Your Blood, My Bones, is the book of her heart, and I Am Made of Death is the book of her soul. She carved out a little bit in the writing. Happy reading. Thank you so much for tuning in. I feel like this teen YA list has something for everyone. Please reach out if you have any questions or comments, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jody. Hi, I'm Allison Curtin. I'm the marketing and brand manager for Cats. Going to do a little background presto changeo here. And we're going to start with Simon and Schuster. Just a moment.
That's me.
That's Heather. Heather Viero from Simon and Schuster is next. Take it away, Heather.
Hi, well, I'm happy to be back. I'm not sure how many of you were on for the morning session, but this has been a great day. Thanks to Baker and Taylor for hosting. I am thrilled to talk about Simon and Schuster's teen books with you. And we can start off with a bang and go on to the first slide. Here we go. All right, I'm excited to talk about Fearless. This is book 3, and it's the thrilling conclusion to this romantasy trilogy that spent 14 weeks at #1 on the New York Times list before moving over to the series list. Lauren Roberts has an incredible fan base. Each book in the series so far has just exceeded our expectations. Peyton Gray and Kai Azar return to the kingdom of Ilia, and Peyton has a life-altering choice to make. Whatever she decides will determine her fate and the fate of those around her. In the ultimate battle of love and loyalty, who wins? This is perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas and the Red Queen. Lauren Roberts is based in Michigan. The first book in her series was originally self-published and bubbled up to our notice. The quality of her writing and the devotedness of her fans to this world that she has created is really special. And I think if we go on to the next slide, we have a series slide. Oh, we don't. Well, I was going to say the cover for Fearless was actually revealed on people.com today, so I'll try to put that in the chat at some point. So on to the next book, please. Oathbound from Tracy Dion. Oathbound is the third book in the best-selling and award-winning Legendborn series, a planned quartet. As the blurb says, the book combines the Arthur legend with Southern Black girl magic, and it is a truly amazing series that readers have really embraced. Severed from the Legendborn, oathbound to a monster, Bree Matthews is alone. She exiled herself from the Legendborn order, cut her ancestral connections, and turned away from the friends who can't understand the impossible cost of her powers. This is the only way to keep herself and those she loves safe. But Bree's decision has come with a terrible price, an unbreakable bargain with the Shadow King himself, a shapeshifter who can move between humanity, the demon underworld, and the Legendborn secret society. In exchange for training to wield her unprecedented abilities, Bree has put her future in the Shadow King's hands and unwittingly bound herself to do his bidding as his new protege. It's very exciting. As a string of mysterious kidnappings escalate and Merlins are found dead, it becomes clear that no matter how hard Bree runs from who she is, the past will always find her. Tracy Dion is just a groundbreaking, best-selling, award-winning author of this cycle. She has a master's degree in communication and performance studies, and she's worked in live theater, video game production, and education. And I think all of these things really show in her storytelling, her ability to create a story that really resonates with teens, that explores new pathways, takes sort of traditional fantasy to a whole new level. So cannot recommend this series enough if you haven't read it, but I bet you have. Next slide, please. There we have a series slide. Ooh, all better now. In this scythe-like new novel, Neil Schusterman creates a new dystopia where corporations have decided happiness is bad for business. A deadly and unprecedented virus is spreading, but those who survive it experience long-term effects no one has ever seen before: utter contentment. Soon after infection, people find the stress, depression, greed, and other negative feelings that used to weigh them down are gone. More and more people begin to revel in this mass unburdening, but not everyone. People in power who depend on malcontents and prey on the insecure to sell their products and convince other people they need more, new, faster, better everything, know this new state of being is bad for business. Surely, without anger or jealousy as motivators, productivity will grind to a halt and the world will be thrown into chaos. Campaigns start up to convince people that being eternally happy is dangerous. The race to find a vaccine begins. Meanwhile, a growing movement of recoveries plan ways to spread the virus as fast as they can in the name of saving the world. It's nearly impossible to determine the truth when everyone with a platform is pushing their agenda. 3 teens from very different backgrounds who've had their lives upended in very different ways find themselves at the center of a power play that could change humanity forever. And I think that part of the book that is about how do we figure out what's real and what's being sold to us is what is most prescient right now. I mean, certainly, we've all been through a pandemic, but we are definitely living through a time when it's not easy to determine the truth. Neil Schusterman is the New York Times bestselling author of more than 30 award-winning books for children, teens, and adults, including The Unwind Dystology, the Skinjacker Trilogy, Downsiders, and Challenger Deep, which won the National Book Award. Scythe, the first book in his Arc of a Scythe series, is a Michael L. Prince honor book. And a new book from Neil Schusterman is always a big event for us. Under the Fading Sky, a teen boy thinks his vaping habit is harmless until it becomes a crippling addiction of nightmarish dimensions in this searing young adult novel from Newbery and National Book Award winner Cynthia Katahata. Vaping? What's the big deal? It's not like you're shooting up or anything. Geez, chill, people. That's what 16-year-old Elijah thinks, and he's pretty sick of his parents always being on his case about it. But without even being aware that it's happening, soon he's vaping not because he wants to, but because he needs to, because he has to. And suddenly, Elijah and a small circle of friends stumble into the sprawling drug culture of Southern California, where 13-year-old girls sell pictures of themselves for vape and pill money, and grown men are willing to accept other types of payment in lieu of cash. And Elijah's parents can't get him to stop, and therapists can't do squat, and the rehab centers aren't working. And Elijah is spiraling, getting angrier and angrier until you get to an ending that will bring you to your knees. Elijah's struggle, surreal and Kafkaesque, set in the modern world of California freeways and beachfront estates, reads like an expose written by one of the finest writers in the children's world. It's a really powerful book. Oh, Burning in the Bones from Scott Rankton. This is part of the Waxways series. Scott is a tremendous writer. He is an educator. He's in North Carolina. He went viral recently around Christmas time last year. I think his kid opened all of his presents. He is a delight, and this series is great. He's written in middle grade. This is a teen series. The covers are phenomenal. The world building is great. And I am thrilled to have a new one. Could move on to the next. Children of Usei. An elite female fighter and her found family of sisters battle gods and monsters for their existence in this captivating West African-inspired young adult fantasy sequel to The Daughters of Oduma, perfect for the fans of The Gilded Ones and Legendborn. Eat, dance, fight for your life. The girls in the Mud Fam are used to fighting hard. It's the only way to win in their elite all-female sport of bowing. Thanks to her legendary performance at the last tournament, Dirt has helped their ranks swell with a bevy of new recruits. She has finally achieved her lifelong dream of restoring glory to the Mud Fam, and she's more than ready to win the upcoming tournament. But everything changes when a man washes up on shore. This book is great. Moses Utami is a really wonderful writer, and I loved in the first book, they're sort of like the bad news bears of this society that he's created. Like this fam cannot get a break, and when finally Dirt enters the ring and sort of discovers her power, you are really cheering for her. So this is a great next book in this series. Next. Love at Second Sight. When a teen has an unexpected vision about a future murder, he must juggle newfound interest from the supernatural community with trying to prevent a murder from happening in this new romantic fantasy from New York Times bestselling author F.T. Lukens. 15-year-old Cam Reynolds wants to spend his sophomore year flying under the radar. That shouldn't be too hard, considering he's a human going to school with kids who have paranormal powers, like his best friend and witch, Al, and his long-term werewolf crush, Mateo. Then Cam has a psychic glimpse of the future in front of most of the student body, seeing a gruesomely murdered teen girl from the point of view of the killer. When Cam comes to, he knows two things. Someone he goes to school with is a future murderer, and his life is about to change. No longer a mere human, but a clairvoyant, one of the rarest supernatural beings, Cam finds himself at the center of attention for the first time. As the most powerful supernatural factions in the city court Cam and his gift, he'll have to work with his friends, both old and new, to figure out who he can trust and who might be a werewolf in sheep's clothing. Because the clock is ticking and Cam and his friends must identify the girl in the vision, find her potential killer, and prevent the murder from happening. Or the next murder Cam sees might be his own. F.T. Lukens is a New York Times bestselling author of YA speculative fiction, including the novels Spellbound, So This Is Ever After, and In Deeper Waters, which was a 2022 ALA Rainbow Book List book, a Junior Library Guild selection. They have also written other science fiction and fantasy works, and we are always thrilled to have more F.T. Lukens. It's a lot of fun. Next. Solving for the Unknown is Lonely. This is a sweet, heartfelt companion to a pho love story in which Vietnamese Americans Viet and Evie juggle family expectations with their desire to forge their own path in between college classes and falling in love. To his friends back home, Viet Ho is calm and collected and a lovable oddball who nurses an obsession with forensic science. He's relieved to head off to UC Davis and escape from being in the middle of his bickering parents. Yet on campus and with the school year unfolding at an overwhelming pace, Viet struggles to belong and keeps his depression hidden. Evie May is a junior biology major and the eldest daughter who has never trod far off the beaten path. She has everything: good grades, a solid group of friends, a smart, ambitious boyfriend who's the son of a well-connected university board member. But their busy schedules, as well as their interests, no longer align. Determined to close the distance, she and her boyfriend both apply for a student-run clinic for underserved communities. But will that save or expose the gaps in their relationship? When a clumsy accident brings Viet and Evie together, they bond over their shared hometown and similar history, and their orbits grow smaller as their friends collide. The more time they spend with each other and support each other mentally and emotionally, the more their friendship shifts into something else. A sweet, emotional slice of life story, Solving for the Unknown, is about characters questioning the paths they've taken and finding a new path that will lead them to their happiest selves. Lonely is the author of Solving for the Unknown and a pho love story, a YA rom-com that earned praise from NPR, Pop Sugar, Bustle, Bon Appetit, USA Today, and BuzzFeed. And lastly, we have All the Noise at Once. In this compelling, moving story about brotherhood, identity, and social justice, a Black autistic teen tries to figure out what happened the night his older brother was unjustly arrested. All Aiden has ever wanted to do was play football, just like his star quarterback brother, Brandon. An overstimulation meltdown gets in the way of Aiden making the team during summer tryouts, but when the school year starts and a spot unexpectedly needs to be filled, he finally gets a chance to play the game he loves. However, Not every player is happy about the new addition to the team, wary of how Aiden's autism might present itself on a game day. Tensions rise, a fight breaks out, cops are called. Brandon interferes on behalf of his brother, but is arrested by the very same cops who just hours earlier were chanting his name from the bleachers. When he is wrongly charged for felony assault on an author, everything Brandon has worked for starts to slip away, and the brothers' relationship is tested. As Brandon's trial inches closer, Aiden is desperate to figure out what really happened that night. Can he clear his brother's name in time? This is Deandra Davis's debut, and it's a very powerful novel. It's a really good read. We have great resources available for all of our books on simonandschuster.net, and also on Edelweiss, where you can find digital advanced reading copies for most of our books. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it, and I enjoyed being here.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. Next up, we have Ainsley Kent from Macmillan. Take it away, Ainsley.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Ainsley Kent. I'm Associate National Account Manager and the sales rep for Baker and Taylor at Macmillan Kids. First off, just wanted to thank everyone so much for being here today, and thank you so much to the Baker and Taylor Cats team for inviting me to talk to you about some of our exciting YA titles they're publishing in 2025. So without further ado, we can go ahead and get started with King Alive, the Young Adult Edition. So in 2023, author Jonathan Eig and the FSG on the adult side published King Alive, the first full biography of Martin Luther King Jr. in decades, and one of the most acclaimed nonfiction titles of the year. Now, FSG Books for Young Readers is publishing a young adult adaptation of the monumental and definitive text, with crossover appeal to adults who want a trimmed down, yet still impactful and powerfully pacey version. There is a lot of MLK material for PatriotBooks and elementary readers, but a large hole in the market for for older middle grade readers and young adults. Children's biographies of MLK also present a sanitized, saintly version of the activist, and in the process undermine the reader's ability to truly appreciate the scale of his accomplishments of this towering figure in American history. As Eig writes in this new epilogue for our edition, I wanted to better understand the human being as well as the famous activist. I wanted to help readers discover a king that they could relate to. I wanted to remind people that the man who led the Montgomery boy boycott and the March from Selma, and who gave some of the greatest speeches of all time, also chewed his fingernails, shouted at the TV during game shows, and got mediocre grades in school. As an adult, he wrestled with feelings of self-doubt, and at times he got depressed and complained he felt like no one could understand him. I wrote my book to encourage readers to embrace the complexity, and ignoring these aspects of King's life, we sap the strength of his story and undercut his power to inspire change. We're anticipating this to be a significant publication and a classic in the making for the SNL space. Next slide. Song of a Blackbird is something unique and an incredible use of the graphic novel medium. The intertwined storylines follow Emma in 1943 Amsterdam under Nazi occupation, and Annick in 2011 as she unlearns about her grandmother's secret past. Next slide, shows some interiors. Emma joins the resistance, smuggling Jewish children to safety, and comes to join a now historic bank heist. Annick, 68 years later, follows the mysterious trail left behind in a series of prints signed Emma B. Next slide, please. Through this exquisitely crafted and deeply researched story, A Song of a Blackbird delivers a passionate tale about how art, in the face of insurmountable adversity, can be our greatest lifeline. Last slide for this one. This is a big title for our friends at First Second, and an important one. We've seen time and time again that historical fiction graphic novels, particularly about World War II, do really well in the school and library space, and this one is poised to have a lot of buzz. Song of a Blackbird is definitely one to watch as we move through 2025. Needy Little Things is a debut speculative YA mystery about a Black teen with premonition-like powers who must solve her friend's disappearance before she finds herself in the same danger. Soraya can hear what people need, tangible things like a pencil, a hair tie, a phone charger, an ability only her family and her best friend Malcolm knows the truth about. But when she fulfills a need for her friend Deja, who vanishes shortly after, Soraya is left wondering if her ability is more curse than gift. This isn't the first time one of her friends has landed on the missing persons list, and she's determined not to let her become yet another forgotten Black girl. Mixing in themes of social justice and mental health in this engrossing speculative mystery, Neat Little Things is perfect for fans of Courtney Summers and Jason Reynolds. As a massive Liver Brave fan since I was a young one, I'm truly honored to present Under the Same Stars, a propulsively gorgeous, really written historical mystery from New York Times bestselling and Prince Award-winning author Liver Brave, where 3 timelines converge to solve the disappearance of 2 girls during World War II. In 1940s Germany, Sophie and her best friend Hannah used to leave love letters at the notch of the bridegroom's yoke, and now they're using it to pass secret messages for the resistance against the Nazis. In 1980s Germany, American teen transplant Jenny feels suffocated by her strict parents and struggling to fit in. That is until she meets Lena, a punk rock German girl hell-bent on tearing down the wall. And in spring of 2020, New York City, best friends Miles and Chloe are in the first weeks of lockdown and hating Zoom school when a mysterious package from Chloe's grandmother leaves them to investigate a cold case about 2 unidentified teenagers who went missing under the bridegroom's oak 80 years ago. This book offers meaty, discussable themes of resistance, justice, truth, reconciliation, mental health, and who gets to tell a story. That is perfect supplementary reading for world history and European history classes. It focuses on propaganda, misinformation, and how prejudice takes root in a society and makes for a very topical conversation. It also delivers on a reading experience with a spoony romance, a super propulsive mystery, and a shocking reveal at the end. Lastly, there is a story within a story that any reader, but especially people in this virtual room, will love. She is beloved by librarians and educators, especially as a Texas native, and we're hoping that the school and library space will be receptive to this new offering from Libba. We're excited to bring her to FSG and Macmillan to break her out with this incredible standalone. Next up, I have They Bloom at Night from the author of New York Times bestselling She Is a Haunting and our friends at Bloomsbury. This horror YA takes place in Mercy, Louisiana, where after a horrible hurricane, red algae blooms has taken over the town. Mutated wildlife lurks in the water, and that is rising day by day. And our hero, Noon, is navigating the submerged town and trying to ignore a horrible truth. She is not in the right shape. Another storm is quickly approaching, and Noon is forced to confront her past and decide what her future will be. Train's writing is stunning, combining a terrifying post-apocalyptic flooded environment with nuance of found family and self-image struggles. And next, let's talk about some romantasy. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue meets This Is How You Lose a Time War in Our Infinite Fates, a fantastical love story that defies death as 2 souls reincarnate through the centuries. They've loved each other in 1,000 lifetimes, and they've killed each other in every one. Evelyn remembers all of her past lives. She also remembers that in every single one, she's been murdered by her before her 18th birthday by Arden, a supernatural being whose soul and survival is tethered to hers. The problem is she's quite fond of the life that she's in now, and her little sister needs a bone marrow transplant in order to stay alive. If Evelyn wants to save her sister, she'll have to find the centuries-old devil who hunts her through each life before it finds her first. 2, figure out why she's being hunted and finally break their curse. And 3, try not to fall in love. Our friends at Wednesday Book have been killing it in this genre with titles like Divine Rivals, Ruthless Vows, What the River Knows, and Heartless Hunter. And we think Our Infinite Fates will be the next YA romantasy hit. Next slide, please. Thank you. The Floating World is the first in an epic new duology from Axie-O. Shadow and Bone meets the Final Fantasy video game franchise in this romantic fantasy reimagining the Korean folklore of celestial maidens. This is our next project with Axie, as following the New York Times bestseller The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, which published in 2022. The Floating World is a breath of fresh air and a fantasy full of humor and heart in the YA market. It follows Rin, a bubbly young acrobat, on a quest to save her adoptive family, even if at the risk of returning to the floating world, a magical land adrift in the sky where the elite stay safe and wealthy and while casting the rest of the world in a suffocating shadow. When her path crosses with that of Sunho, a soft-spoken sailor for hire with few memories of his own past, they discover that their destinies are more entwined than they could ever imagine. We'll be publishing this duology on accelerated schedule with the sequel just following a season later in 2025. Fall 2025, sorry. Next slide, please. When Devils Sing is a debut YA horror novel from Zan Kaur. This atmospheric horror novel, four unlikely allies in a small southern town investigate a local teen's disappearance, and what they discover festering at the core of their community is far more sinister and ancient than they could have ever imagined. When Dawson goes missing, all he leaves behind is a smattering of blood in room 4 of a debt-ridden motel owned by Nira's family. Disappearances like this aren't uncommon in a rural Georgia town of Carry-On, especially every 13 years as a periodical cicada brood returns from underground, shrieking with their deafening screams. Nira sets out to investigate Dawson's whereabouts, if he even still lives, along with 3 other teens: Isaiah, the son of a prominent judge and clandestine true crime podcaster; Reed, the son of the wealthiest man in the region; and Sam, the estranged daughter of a local hitman. As they find themselves entangled in a messy web of secrets, lies, they discover that the riches of the adjacent Lake Clearwater community may have a terrifying source of power dating back to the town's founding, and an ancient urban legend about 3 devils, each more sinister than the next. When Devils Sing has all the marks of a horror novel destined to break out, a la She Is a Haunting and House of Hollow, and we're prioritizing this debut at MCPG. Next slide, please. From reigning YA author Marissa Meyer and the expressive art of newcomer Joelle Murray comes We Could Be Magic, a YA romance standalone graphic novel. Tabby is a super fan of Summerland and all the characters in the amusement park. Landing their summer program should be all of her dreams come true, right? But when she's told she doesn't fit the part to play a princess, she's determined to prove them wrong with the help of some friends and a new crush. We all know and love Marissa Meyer at MCPG, and she's a bona fide school and library darling. She proves time and time again that she can do it all. As with her YA romance novels, it's a swoony read, but also covers grounds of rejection, determination, navigating tough family history, and being swept away by the magic of an immersive experience. We expect big things from We Could Be Magic, set for a major publishing moment for Marissa. Next slide, please. For rabid romantasy fans and YA fantasy readers alike, I'm delighted to introduce Heir of Storms, the first in an epic trilogy from debut Scottish writer Lauren Hamilton Murray. Fast-paced, voicey, swoon-worthy, we see this as an addictive new romantasy offering perfect for fans of Trisha Levenseller and Sarah J. Maas. The very day that Blaze came into the world, she almost drowned it. A rain singer born into the most powerful fire-wielding families in the Empire, Blaze's birth summoned a devastating storm that left thousands dead. She's been hidden away ever since with a dark secret, the same torrential power that branded her outcast disappeared that fateful day. She's not sure that she wants it back. With an unexpected invitation for Blaze and her twin brother to compete as future rulers of the Empire, she's suddenly thrust in the limelight again and into battle. Threats abound at the Golden Palace, where intrigue and romance await, with not one handsome suitor, but 2, the enchanting crown prince and the dangerously alluring newcomer at court. As Blaze explores her untapped power, she discovers the throne might be within her grasp, but in order to take it, she'll have to leave behind the stories that others have told about her and find the courage to write her own. We're planning a very buzzy campaign for this debut to make it the YA fantasy to pick up in summer 2025. And last, I have Coffee Shop in an Alternate Universe. In this fun, sapphic, cozy fantasy romance, Brenda, a geeky, overscheduled, overachiever with a multi-step plan to save the world through science, and Kat, a troublemaking chosen one determined to rebel against her destiny at all costs, meet in a magical coffee shop and fall in love. The only problem is they live in 2 different universes, and the very portals that let them meet are causing chaos as the universes collide. Coffee Shop in an Alternate Universe is inspired by C.B. Lee's love of fandom and her favorite fan fiction trope, the Coffee Shop AU, an incredible popular fanfic tag that refers to stories that where two characters are taken out of their canon universes and instead meet and fall in love in a coffee shop. This book perfectly fits into the growing cozy fantasy trend that is so popular in the adult space, as seen with titles like Legends and Lattes and Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. And that's it for Macmillan. Thank you so much for everything, Baker and Taylor team. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Next up, we have our friend Kathleen Rourke, who will be presenting for Candlewick, Peachtree, and Holiday House.
Hi, everybody. I'm very excited to be here. And I will, as Allison said, I'm going to talk to you about a bunch of our upper middle grade and some YA titles from our spring list. First up, we have The Extraterrestrial Zoo. This is an upper middle grade YA crossover. It's for ages 10 to 14. It's a debut by New York Times bestselling co-author of Between the Lines. And it stars 13-year-old Ava, who helps run her family's refuge for extraterrestrials. But a sudden attack on the zoo leads to her discovering government's conspiracy that upends everything she believed to be true. This is unputdownable science fiction adventure for ages 10 to 14. Book 2 will follow soon, though I don't have the publication for that yet. But hopefully we'll know that soon. Next up, we have another upper middle grade YA crossover. So this is good for ages 12 plus. Band together, our fight for readers' rights. Books are disappearing from shelves across the country. What does this mean for authors, illustrators, and most crucially for young readers? This bold collection of fiction, memoir, poetry, graphic narratives, essays, and other genre explores book bans through various lenses and empowers teens to fight back. From moving personal accounts to clever comebacks aimed at censorship, 15 legendary YA authors and illustrators confront the high-stakes question of what is lost when books are kept from teens. Next slide, please. This is just a few of the different art styles and different genre you can see in the book. Striking illustrations from Ignatz nominated artist Debbie Fong pair perfectly with the searing, impactful narrative. Resources include tips from the Vandegrift Band Book Club and other teen activists, as well as extensive recommended book lists, a how to start your own little free library flyer, and more. "14-year-old Maeve feels more at home in the pages of her comics and sketchbook than she does in Nowhereville, her maybe not so nice nickname for the small Florida town where her family just moved. In the comic book version of her life, she's a brave superhero who always bests the bad guys. In reality, not so much. When a bully at her new school makes her life miserable over her weight, Maeve isn't sure what to do. But when she hears from other misfit 8th graders who are also being picked on, she decides that enough is enough. This heartfelt and uplifting novel serves as a sweet reminder that heroes are stronger together, that home is where you make it, and that the greatest superpower you have is your voice." This is a really fabulous, great debut voice for this middle grade YA crossover. And then an author who will be familiar to many of you, Dory Hillestead Butler, who's the author of the King and Kayla series, has written this book in conjunction with Sunshine Bacon. And there are 2 points of view, and each author takes a different point of view of 2 cousins. This is a little bit about the plot of the book. 12-year-olds Alice and Bea are practically strangers when their grandparents' anniversary party reunites their estranged families and ignites their own fast friendship. But their reunion doesn't last long. Bea's mother and grandfather are dead set on keeping the liberal Seattle faction of the family away from the conservative Minnesota crew. It's complicated, the grown-ups tell them over and over and over again. This powerful, timely story cuts deep, touching on recent historic events and intimate family details alike. Readers will fall headfirst for Alice and Bea as the unforgettable tweens make space for their friendship and shifting identities, while standing up to their far from perfect family with all the love and grace they can muster. And now we're going full on into straight YA here. So 14 and plus for everything coming. Another debut author. This is the year. 17-year-old self-proclaimed goth and aspiring writer Julietta is drowning. She's grieving her twin sister who died in a hit and run. Her Florida home is crumbling under the weight of climate disaster, and she isn't sure how much longer she can stand to stay in a place that doesn't seem to have room for her. Then Julie is recruited by a private space program enlisting high aptitude new American teens for a high stakes mission to establish humanity's first extraterrestrial settlement. Pitched as an opportunity for Julie to give back to her adopted country, Julie sees it as her only chance to do something big with her life. This dazzling YA climate fiction written in prose and verse will speak to any reader struggling with the state of the world and how to understand their place in it. Told in gripping prose, interspersed with poems from Julie's writing journal, this genre-bending novel explores themes of immigration, climate justice, grief, and the power of community. The Assassin's Guide to Babysitting. 17-year-old True has been hiding all her life. Her parents taught her to conceal her superpower, indestructible skin, muscles, and bones. Not even her closest friends know her real name or her powers, or that she's balancing high school with knife and stealth training while crushing on her BFF's older sister. When assassins interrupt a mundane babysitting job, True flees with a 1-year-old strapped to her chest. From an award-winning author comes a masterfully plotted thriller that holds character and relationship on par with action and nail-biting suspense. We've got some really nice advanced praise on that one. Next, we have the Underwood tapes. Since her mom's death, Grace has been desperate to get away from the memories and reminders of her loss. Spending the summer transcribing cassette tapes for the Hermitage Historical Society in Florida might be boring, but boring is just what Grace needs. Until she hears the voice of Jake Underwood, the boy who first recorded the cassette tapes back in 1992. When Grace realizes he can hear anything she records despite 30 years of time between them, they strike up an impossible conversation through the tapes. A beautifully written exploration of grief and what happens when untreated wounds bleed into future generations. This is the perfect read for anyone in need of a good cathartic cry. Another debut, Nahia. As headwoman's daughter, 18-year-old Nahia was born to lead. But when she speaks aloud a forbidden truth, her sister is made the new heir and Nahia is sent away with a young man she barely knows, and discovers a talent for divining messages from the spirits, and the visions show her that her people are in danger and only she can save them. In this powerful upper YA debut with crossover appeal, archaeologist Emily Jones transports us to a rugged world of pine forests, frothy beaches, and wild magic, and masterfully depicts passionate first love, looming conquest, green sorcery, the unbreakable bond between sisters, and untamed, unashamed female power. And next up, we have This Thing of Ours from Frederick Joseph, who's done 2 nonfiction books with us. This is his first work of fiction. In an instant, Ossie Brown's entire future is in jeopardy when an injury ends his promising basketball career. Now, without basketball, Ossie, a Black teen who doesn't come from wealth and privilege, must navigate his new place in the social and academic ecosystems of his affluent, predominantly white school. When a Black teacher encourages him to join her highly regarded writing program, Ossie begins to find a new purpose and new friends who see him as something more than an asset to the sports program. But everything changes when some students' anti-woke video goes viral and puts the teacher, the writing program, and Ossie's new friend's safety at risk. He must find his true voice. This unflinching novel confronts critical issues like racism and classism, the treatment of student athletes, homophobia, and book banning, while weaving together a moving testament to family, romance, friendship, and the power of words. Next, we have costumes for time travelers. Anyone who has hiked through time knows the town of Pocket. It's the place time travelers first reach after they stumble away from their home time on their way to any other time. To Callisto, Pocket is home. Callisto has no intention of traveling. It's too dangerous. For Fawkes, traveling is life. But when the town of Pocket is threatened, Callisto and Fawkes must rush from Shakespeare's London to ancient Crete to California on the eve of a millennium to save their town and travelers from being erased. From the Lambda Literary Award-winning author of Heartbreak Bakery comes a fairy tale romance that weaves in and out of time, from kiss to kiss and costume to costume. Get Real, Chloe Torres from Crystal Maldonado. As Chloe turns 18 and prepares to leave for her freshman year, she decides to take one more shot at healing the friend breakup she's always regretted, planning the bucket list trip neither girl can say no to. But first, her ex-BFFs have to say yes. This sizzling summer adventure from YA star Crystal Maldonado is a hilarious and heartfelt rom-com with a little something for everyone. Fat positivity, sapphic romance, a blazing love triangle, ADHD representation, a diversity of Latin identities, a once-in-a-lifetime road trip, and the perfect kiss. And the tree stare back. 1989, Soviet Estonia. Communist regimes are crumbling across Europe, but in 16-year-old Vic's isolated Estonian village, eyes are everywhere. Soldiers threaten those who so much as dream of dissent. And within the cursed forest lurks the bog spirit that lures villagers beyond where anyone can reach them. 5 years ago, he took Vic's sister, Anna. So when Anna finally returns, it's either a miracle or a lie. Rooted in real history with a speculative twist, the horrors of And the Trees Stare Back are the ones we already know, existing as a marginalized person under a hostile state, raising powerful questions about whose humanity counts and how to survive if the governing body decides that yours doesn't. This politically incisive YA folk horror irresistibly melds unexplored history with hot-button themes, gorgeous prose, and authentic depictions of OCD and PTSD. If I could go back. For Alea Campbell, family is everything. Her cousin Ivy is her best friend and track co-star, and her grandfather is her rock and guardian. Still, Alea can't stop thinking about what's missing, her parents. And without answers as to why they gave her up, she cannot silence the anxious voice telling her she's never been good enough. Alea is a champion for young girls coping with anxiety and depression, and a voice for all teens navigating the messy process of learning how to advocate for oneself. Through honest storytelling and a voice that oozes humor and heart, Brianna Johnson's memorable debut explores sensitive topics with authenticity and compassion. Stuck Up and Stupid. Lily has the whole summer stretched out before her, endless days of sunshine and friends at beautiful Pippi Beach. Then superstar Dorian Kahn arrives with his party of Hollywood types. While most of the locals, including Lily's glamour-obsessed mom, are thrilled to be so close to the A-listers, Lily can't help but see them as superficial and arrogant, especially Dorian. But as Lily and Dorian's paths continue to cross, she begins to wonder if she's got him all wrong. Playwright Kate Rice and her daughter Angori Rice team up to write a teen romance novel from those who know firsthand what the international film industry is really like. Lou with the Band. No stranger to reinventing herself, Restless Lou is a Cuban-American girl who's never left Texas, let alone the country. But the new Lou has deferred her first semester at Texas State to work for a celebrity musician on tour. She's bound for China, Japan, half of Europe, and everywhere in between. Even with her road crew uncle on alert, it will be the summer of a lifetime. Pulsing with energy and authentic detail, this story of self-discovery ushers readers backstage on a sensational world tour. Skipshock. Margot and Moon, a traveling salesman, should never have met. But when Margot suddenly appears on Moon's train, their fates become inextricably linked. If Margot wants to survive, she has to pass as a traveling salesman too, except it's not that easy. Move north on the train line and time speeds up, a day passing in mere hours. Move south and time slows down, a day can last several weeks. Slow worlds are the richest ones. You live longer, your youth lasting decades. Fast worlds are sharp, cruel, and don't have time for pleasantries. Death is frequent. Salesmen die young of skip shock. Told through the eyes of both naive Margot and desperate Moon, the unforgettable realm of skip shock will shake the way you think about love, time, and the fabric of the universe. The first in a planned duology from best-selling author of the Gifts YA trilogy, an adult novel, The Rachel Incident. This utterly original epic is a must-read. Book number 2 will publish on the Spring 26 list. And lastly, we have Vesuvius, which is another debut. The end is coming. The gods are watching. This thrilling historical fantasy set in the days before Mount Vesuvius destroys Pompeii is a meet cute with an explosive fallout, an exploration of ambition and class, autonomy and religion, survival and love. Vesuvius combines the romantic angst of They Both Die at the End and the blended magic in history of the Song of Achilles to show readers that it is never too late to change your fate or change the world. And that is it for me today. Thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of the presentations.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. That was fantastic. I'm next going to introduce Teresa DeVanzo, who is from Sourcebooks, and she is going to take it away. I'm just going to share my screen.
Thank you, Grace. Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well this afternoon. I am the National Account Manager for Sourcebooks. Thanks again for being here to hear about our upcoming YA titles.
Sorry about that. I'm just getting that to share. It was giving me trouble. Here you are.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, next slide. Let's start with some festive YA highlights. All the Jingle Ladies was just recently released. All the Boys I've Loved Before meets The Kissing Booth in this brand new snowy festive feel-good rom-com from author Beth Garrett. And also from Beth is Blame It on the Mistletoe. And then from Suzanne Park, we have the Christmas Clash. These are all sure to warm up your winter. So check those out if you haven't seen those yet. Next slide. And highlighting some of our Sourcebooks Fire titles. Our Fire imprint publishes breakout YA fiction and nonfiction with authentic teen voices that create and validate the teen experience in all of its diversity. We publish across genres and are known for books that teens want to recommend to their friends. Some recently released YA highlighting a range of books from thriller and horror from Natalie D. Richards. We have paranormal and dystopian from Sarah Daniels and true crime from author and librarian Bryce Moore. So check out Family of Killers if you haven't. Next slide, please. And let's get into the books. Next slide. Emotionally raw and breathtakingly romantic, Everything I Promised You is a portrait of grief, growth, and acceptance. Perfect for fans of Laura Nowlan's If He Had Been With Me. Their love was written in the stars. How is Leah supposed to move on when death eclipses fate? When Leah's mom was 17, a psychic predicted that her only daughter was fated to fall in love with her best friend's son. Now Leah lives by the truth that she and Beckett are destined to be. When a freak heart attack steals Beck's life, Leah is devastated and unmoored. Who is she with Beck gone? Is there room for her in her broken heart for life, let alone another love? So this is coming January 28th from Katie Upperman in paperback. Next slide. My return in this highly anticipated sequel to My Life with the Walter Boys is my return to the Walter Boys. Unfortunately, we don't have a cover yet, but if anyone needs it at any point in time, just reach out to me. Becky Howard returns to Colorado after following her heart to a big decision. But when life brings more choices about the future, she's much less sure. Who is she meant to be? And will Cole still be there for her once she's figured that out? Streaming series hit #1 globally on Netflix with over 20 million views in the first 2 weeks. With the sequel publishing before the second season is expected, fans of the show will join a reading audience that can't wait to find out what's in store for Jackie and the Walters. Next slide, please. We have some reissues here from Ali Novak. Heartbreakers is the first book in an exciting new repackage of the Heartbreak Chronicles. Stella has put her life on hold for her sick sister, but when a chance encounter with the lead singer of a famous band leaves Stella wanting more, can she find the courage to live her own life? Each book, and then I'm sorry, the one with the cover in progress is Paper Hearts, and that's coming in February. Each book in the Heartbreak Chronicle series follows a different protagonist who unwittingly meets and falls for a member of the world-famous band, the Heartbreakers. So Paper Hearts is the second book in the Heartbreak Chronicles, and that one is the story of Felicity. And the last thing Felicity expected was to become friends with Alec of the Heartbreakers. Now they're on a rebellious road trip together, but can he be there for her in the long run? Next slide, please. Another reissue we have from Laura Nowlin, the author of the internationally best-selling If He Had Been With Me. This is a fresh repackage of her coming-of-age romance about 3 high school seniors who share a passion for creativity and the lengths they will go to pursue love and their dreams. A captivating novel about protecting and sustaining the relationships that are most important. Music is the second most important thing, I say. That was something my mother would always say. We've stopped saying it out loud, but I think it all the same. That is coming out in December. And the other books from Laura Nowlin, New York Times bestselling, we've sold over 1 million of If He Had Been With Me. Next slide. On to our midnight reads titles. Next slide. If you're looking for a thrilling read that will keep you up until midnight and you need to find a book with shocking twists, chilling endings, or villains that will keep you on your toes, we have you covered with our Midnight Reads books. No Place Left to Hide from the New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of That's Not My Name comes a new twisty thriller for fans of I Know What You Did Last Summer. Brooke works hard to maintain her perfect life, especially after the incident that threatened it all. But someone wants the truth about what happened, and when an old SUV starts tailing her home from a party, the terrifying drive will bring out Brooke's worst fears until she can figure out who her mysterious stalker is and what they know. Next slide, and that's coming in January. New from Alex Travis, after the basketball star and most popular guy in school is found bloodied and unconscious in the locker room, his 3 jilted exes become suspects, and the investigation turns from assault to murder. John Tucker Must Die meets One of Us is Lying in the gripping, page-turning debut thriller. Alex Travis has worked in autism research for 3 years. She has her PhD in school psychology, and as a Black woman, she hopes to add to the growing canon of great YA work about Black teenagers. So this will be coming out in April of 2025 in trade paper. Next slide, please. Shocking deaths, abandoned ruins, and dark local lore come together in a compelling mystery about the buried secrets and lies that are passed between generations and protected at all costs. You might remember this author from They Are Watching You, from her starred reviews and JLG selections to her strong-selling backlist. Chelsea Achasto is writing the kind of smart, bingeable thrillers that readers can't get enough of. In the years since teens who dare to explore the ruins of this abandoned beach resort, teens have turned up dead. When Eden Stafford attends an overnight party at the resort and finds another dead body, a deadly stranger starts following her and her classmates, and they uncover the truth and save themselves. Check that out in March to find out. Next slide. On to our Bloom YA. Our Bloom books, authors, adult romance, have more creative ownership over publication of their books. And we have now expanded our Bloom adult imprint into Bloom YA. Next slide, please. Leah Stone is a USA Today best-selling author of multiple best-selling series, including Mate Finder, Wolf Girl, Fallen Academy, Kings of Avalier. She sold over 3 million books, and her Fallen Academy series has been optioned for film. Her novels have been translated into several languages, and she even dabbles in script writing. Leah writes urban fantasy and paranormal romance with sassy, kick-butt heroines and irresistible love interests. She is certainly becoming an integral part of our Bloom YA imprint. Mated Girl is a highly recommended finale of the Wolf Girl series. It's full of action, angst, and vampires. It's Werewolf Bachelor meets Twilight with full-on vampire versus werewolf war. A powerful female werewolf trying to find her own path. Next slide. And then a new series from Leah Stone. It's the first title in popular YA crossover Fallen Academy series. A compelling series that sits in the sweet spot of romantasy and dark academia with an apocalyptic war between angels and demons thrown in for good measure. This series is sure to become a YA steamy obsession. So we have book 1 coming in March, year 2 in April, year 3 in May, and year 4 in June. Next slide. From the New York Times bestselling author Jennifer L. Armentrout comes a relaunch of the Covenant series, in which 17-year-old half-blood Alex finds herself not only crushing on a forbidden pureblood, but in danger of staying alive long enough to graduate the Covenant and becoming a demon-hunting sentinel. So we have this book just recently released, and this whole series, sorry, Sentinel is the most recent, and it is out already. So all of these books are already available. And she also has coming hardcovers in November and December. And I'm sorry, I think I misplaced this slide, but hardcover editions from her Frigid series. So we have Frigid coming in November and Scorched coming in December in hardcover. Next slide. Now in paperback, we have The Poisons We Drink by Bethany Baptiste. It's a witchy fantasy that blends politics, rebellion, and the intersectionality of Black and queer characters for an unforgettable novel of resistance and discovering what you're fighting for. And then Shadow Sister was a dazzling debut released in hardcover, speculative thriller rooted in hoodoo tradition and folklore about a biracial Black girl whose sister returns from an abduction, changed in ways trauma alone cannot explain. Next slide, please. Next slide. On to our Callisto teen nonfiction. Money for Adulting is a fun and engaging guide to financial skills for teens ages 13 and up. It teaches the basics of investing and starting a portfolio, as well as tips for smart saving, spending, and money management. I really love this book. Teens will learn how to set financial goals, create budgets, recognize the difference between good debt and bad so they can make calculated decisions with their money. They'll also learn how to master the market and explore all different ways people invest their money and assesses their risk tolerance with a crash course in the stock market. The advice they'll get in this book is geared towards teens. So they will also get pointers on landing a summer job and creating a savings plans for life after high school. Next slide, please. And then I just wanted to highlight some of our other recently released Callisto titles. Mindfulness for Teen Anxiety is an important book that will show teens how changing the way they think about their problems can help them overcome their worries. It's a practical, easy to digest guide for teens, presents mindfulness as an effective strategy to relieve daily anxiety and stress with exercisements, assessments, and other tools. Life Skills Books for Teens is another book that I really like. It's for teens preparing to leave home for the first time or who just want to be more independent. This guide shares helpful advice on tackling everyday skills like making doctor's appointments, managing money, doing laundry, interviewing for jobs, and more. It's the perfect gift for teens to use every day. And then we have some other great Callisto backlists coming. The backlist is Driving Book for Teens. Sorry about that. Then we have the Cash Stash Activity Book that shows teens various savings challenges. And then Creative Crafts that has 25 confidence building crafts for all genders with themes igniting their creativity and empowering them to create vision boards, gratitude gifts, and positive messages. And last slide. Thank you so much for listening. Please sign up for our newsletter. Emily, sorry, that's my timer. Emily, my colleague, did a really great job with our newsletter. So reach out if you have any questions and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. That was fabulous. We're going to move right along to Megan Carr of HarperCollins. Megan, if you want to turn on your camera, there you are. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course, I'm excited to be here. Okay, so hi everybody, I am Megan Carr. I'm the sales rep for HarperCollins Children's Books, and I'm very excited to share some of our teen books coming this spring. So we can just get right on started. So starting off very strong, we have a new trilogy in the Shatter Me series coming out. So this is set 10 years after the events of the original series, and it follows Warner's younger brother, James, who's trying to take down what's left of the reestablishment. Rosabelle Wolfe is a trained assassin who never hesitates when she's given an order to kill. This is brimming with pulse-pounding action, torturous romance, and it's an explosive journey through a dystopian landscape where enemies to lovers has never felt more impossible. This does have appearances from fan favorite characters, but the series will be completely accessible to new readers as well, with new characters to meet and new conflict to explore. And in case you weren't aware, the world of Shatter Me, there's 6 novels and 5 novellas in the original series. They've sold more than 10 million copies so far around the world since 2011 when the first book went on sale. And it's also recently become a bit of a book talk phenomenon. So we are so excited to have a new entry into the series on our list. Next. Okay, so this is a very exciting one for me personally, as an If I Stay Where She Went fangirl from back in the day. This is a new one from Gail Foreman. So one spring afternoon after school, Amber arrives home on her bike. It's just another perfectly normal day, but when Amber's mom sees her, she screams because Amber died 7 years ago. This is a magnificent tour de force by acclaimed author Gail Foreman that brilliantly explores the porous veil between life and death, examines the impact that one person can have on the world, and celebrates life in all of its beautiful complexity. This is perfect for readers who love They Both Die at the End, You've Reached Sam, and Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And this one we will have an educator/discussion guide for. So that's exciting. And next. So we will have Evie Savoy joining us a little later today, and this is a new one from her. It's a new novel in verse based on Caribbean folklore. And every new moon, Marisol sheds her skin, shifting into a fireball witch who must fly into the night and slowly sip from the lives of others to sustain her own. Genevieve is a newly minted older half-sister of twins whose constant wailing combined with her worsening skin condition keep her up at night. But when she stares at the dark sky with a deep longing to inhale it all. When a new nanny arrives to help with the twins, they discover a family secret that connects Jen and Marisol, and the girls soon discover that this very skin keeping their flames locked beneath the surface may be more explosive to the relationships around them than any ancient magic. This is Evie's fantasy debut, and she's really crafted this rich, layered, magical underbelly to a really grounded contemporary fantasy world. And we will have a discussion guide for this as well. And I'm very excited for Evie to tell you a little bit more about this book in just a little bit. We can go to the next. Yay. Okay, so Anissa lives with her brother in a half-sunken town where they scrape by running a taxidermy shop. Unbeknownst to her, their cruel mother has accrued an enormous debt, enough to qualify one of her children for the Lamb's Gauntlet, a live-streamed assassination spectacle. Melano is an assassin trained to track and kill the sacrificial lambs. As Mel pursues Anissa through the wasteland, both girls begin to question everything, and both wonder if, against all odds, they might be falling in love. Highly possible they are falling in love. So this is very Hunger Games-esque, so will definitely appeal to fans of Suzanne Collins. And this gauntlet blends real-world anxiety over mega corporations, voyeurism, streaming culture, and violence, but with a really unique twist. And this is from Ava Reed, whose YA debut, A Study in Drowning, received 3-star reviews and was included on several best of lists for 2023. And we're really excited for this on the list. Next. Okay, so before I even start talking about this one, I have to share that we do actually have a cover for this. I'm putting it in the chat right now. And it's a really, really good cover. So there's only one magic school worth graduating from, and it creates just as many magicians as it does graves. Each year, the school offers an honors class to the 13 best students, and each year, those students have only one assignment: kill their professor. If they succeed, their tuition is waived. If they don't, if the professor, who just so happens to be a devil summoned from the underworld for this very purpose, is still alive by the end of the year, all of them fail and their lives are forfeit. The students can use anything to accomplish their assignment, but each time a student's assassination attempt fails, the devil gets to kill them. This one is perfect for fans who loved A Study in Drowning, The Atlas Six, or All of Us Villains, and definitely has a lot of crossover audience appeal. The voice in it is very snarky. It's just really a delicious read. And author Lindsay Miller is an author to watch. She's a Lambda Literary Award finalist and the author of several other YA novels, including the successful Disney Prince novels. Next. So this is a new one from Becky Albertalli. It's Amelia If Only. And Becky has built this wildly successful brand with her authentic, relatable teen rom-coms, and this is no different, fits in perfectly with all of her past books. Amelia is ready for the most epic road trip with her best friends before graduation. And what a coincidence that her micro-influencer crush Walter will be hosting his first live meet and greets at the 2 colleges her best friends are attending. It's almost too perfect. As the gang hits the road, there's lots of laughter, but also a little bit of awkwardness. And Amelia can't help but realize that while she thought Walter was going to be the highlight of the trip, the best moments all seem to involve her best friend, Natalie, in some way. So this one also fits in with Imogen, obviously, which is Becky's most recent book, and they return to Blackwell College, so you'll also see a few recurring background characters from Imogen here. And next. So this is the sequel to The Scarlet Veil. It's the thrilling conclusion of this duology, and it's set in the same world as the best-selling Serpent and Dove series. And in this spin-off series, a vampire and the woman who tried to hunt him prove that love is eternal. We're getting into our romantasy books here, right? So this is Shelby Mahurin at her best. She has this trademark blend of lush fantasy with a really steamy romance. So really a standout in this romantasy genre. Next. Okay, so this one's one of my favorites on the list. This is the start of a new duology from Sasha Payton Smith, the New York Times bestselling author of The Witch Haven and The Witch Hunt. And we're calling this one The Selection Meets These Hollow Vows, but I would also throw in a bit of Bridgerton in there as well. Set in an alternate Victorian England, every citizen is granted one bargain from their immortal Fae Queen. Ivy's sister made a bargain that destroyed their family's reputation. So when the queen announces that she's holding a competition for her son, Prince Bram's hand in marriage, Ivy finally sees a way to restore her family's standing. Amidst all the glittering balls, vicious competition, and unexpected feelings for the prince's younger brother, Ivy begins to uncover the dark secrets about their immortal queen's reign. So this one's really sweepingly romantic, deceptively enchanting. It's a good read. And we'll have the sequel coming in winter 26. Yes. Okay, so Language of Dragons. This is set in an alternate London in 1923, and it's a sweeping debut and epic retelling of Bletchley Park, and it's steeped in language, class, and forbidden romance, perfect for teen fans of Fourth Wing and Babel. When Viv accidentally starts a civil war between humans and dragons, the safety she's worked so hard for collapses. Soon, she realizes that the fragile peace that holds humans and dragon societies together is corrupt, and the dangerous work she's been conscripted into could be the threat that unravels it all. The author here, S.F. Williamson, was inspired by her work as a literary translator, and this book really is a love letter to dialects, language, and the way that something is always lost in translation, and also dragons. You can't really beat dragons, can you? So this also has a lot of crossover appeal, and very excited for this debut. Next. Okay. So this is Capitana. It's a sweepingly epic YA romantasy, wherein the seafaring daughter of notorious pirates must prove herself to her empire by rescuing their queen from the most mysterious and infamous pirate alive, while also competing against the infuriating classmate with his own motives. Pirates are definitely having a bit of a cultural moment right now, and Capitana is a gripping, evocative, and completely immersive adventure story that's sure to sweep readers away. It's really action-packed, and we'll have readers racing to the end of the story, think Pirates of the Caribbean, but with a Hispanic twist. We think this will sit on shelves perfectly next to Fable, Daughter of the Pirate King, and Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. And this definitely has a bit of an enemies to lovers trope to it. And it is the start of a duology, so we'll have the next book following in 2026. Next. So Elia uses her powerful key conjuring abilities to provide for her younger siblings. So she takes a dangerous commission from Triss, a prince with a kind heart and his nose stuck in a book. Triss wants Elia to create a pathway to a faraway kingdom so he can find a legendary scroll. In exchange, he'll pay a huge fee, and if he comes back alive, he'll marry her, and she and her siblings will be set for life. Elia and Triss do find the scroll, but it transforms him into a monster beyond all comprehension. With Triss at the battlefront, killing enemies and allies alike, the king plans to destroy him. Elia will have to brave the horrifying carnage, nightmare creatures, and endless night on the battlefield to rescue the prince she's growing to love. This is a debut and it is a standalone, and we'll have a second Romantasy standalone from Sasa on our Winter 26 list. So this is an author we're really excited to launch. Okay, and Where Shadows Blue. This is a sapphic romantasy inspired by the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, where two girls brave the enchanting and dangerous La Chateau Enchanté to uncover its secrets. Where Shadows Bloom will pull readers into the sweepingly tender story of the unstoppable love between two girls, even as they encounter terrifying monsters, capricious gods, immortal kings, and even death itself. This is the sophomore novel from Catherine Bakewell, who's the author of Flower Heart. And this definitely hits a younger YA sweet spot. It has really accessible prose, a quick pace, and a heartfelt romance. And readers who loved the kind of cottagecore elements of Flower Heart will also really enjoy that of Where Shadows Bloom as well. Next, yes. So from critically acclaimed author Shveta Thakrar, this is a beautifully imagined contemporary fantasy about two teens, one who is a believer of magic, who yearns to belong, and the other is a skeptic who is searching for an escape. They both find themselves embroiled in this twisty world of court intrigue when they venture into a forest ruled by mysterious woodland spirits, drawn from Hindu and Buddhist folklore. So Shveta's debut, Star Daughter, was a finalist for the Nebula Award, and her sophomore novel, The Dream Runners, was a nominee for the Ursula K. Le Guin Prize for Fiction. So we're excited to have this new one from her. Next. Okay. When Charlie accidentally starts a brawl at the rink, she's held responsible for the ensuing property damage and suspended from school, so she can't play hockey for her junior year season. Alexa's figure skating partner was hurt in the fight, and so she needs a strong, confident skater to stand in for him, so she can earn a spot at the Nationals and eventually Olympics. She and her mom/coach strike a deal with Charlie, skate with Alexa well enough to place at sectionals, and they'll pay for the property damage and connect Charlie to hockey scouts at D1 schools. As the frostiness between Charlie and Alexa starts to thaw, they begin to wonder if they found a partner for more than just figure skating. Hockey romances are very much a hot trend on Book Talk right now. So in addition to finding teen readers, we think this novel will also appeal to fans of adult romances like Icebreaker, and this is a debut for us. Next. Okay. So Kai desperately wants to come out at school, but Matt, his best friend, who is also queer, asks him to stay closeted because he's afraid of getting kicked out by his religious parents if they knew. Kai unhappily goes along with it, but when a rumor starts around that Kai and Matt are together, Matt starts acting differently towards Kai anyway. Kai's other best friend, Vass, is non-binary and doesn't care who knows it. So when caught between his best friends, Kai turns to writing to express his emotions, but when he explodes, he puts everything at risk. So this is the newest one from Dean Atta, whose previous books are The Black Flamingo and Only on the Weekends, and this story is once again a vivid novel in verse from him, with again a really incredibly fresh voice. It's an ideal next read for fans of Elizabeth Acevedo and Amber McBride. And The Black Flamingo, Dean's debut novel, won the Stonewall Award. Next. Okay. After getting rejected from every single Ivy League she applied to, Jenna Chen makes a wish to become her smarter and more successful Harvard-bound cousin, Jessica Chen. When her wish comes true, Jenna soon discovers that being a top student isn't quite what she imagined. Worse, everyone starts having trouble remembering who Jenna Chen was. So she must decide if playing the role of the perfect daughter and student is worth losing her true self forever. So Anne Liang is incredibly prolific. She writes speculative YA for us, rom-com YA for Scholastic, adult fantasy for Macmillan. She's everywhere. We have 2 more speculative YA novels signed with her, and we're so thrilled to be able to publish these books. Okay. So Society often assigns the label knucklehead to kids with attitude problems. This brilliant and electric poetry collection subverts that narrow way of thinking and empathizes with young people who are misunderstood, unheard, or ignored. Tony Keith Jr. constructs the poems around 5 poetic letters titled Dear Knucklehead, and has written this collection with a love and tenderness that will appeal to everyone from younger teens on their own journeys of self-discovery to poetry-loving adults. This has black and white illustrations throughout, so will definitely appeal to a younger YA audience as well. And we do think that this poetry collection will stack up well against books by Elizabeth Acevedo, Clint Smith, and Jason Reynolds. Next. Okay. From acclaimed author Kate Ancrum comes a queer romantic thriller in which the lives of Hollis, a boy in search of meaning, and Walt, a boy with unfinished business, collide when Walt takes possession of Hollis's body and maybe his heart. This is definitely for fans of Adam Silvera and Aidan Thomas. It's intensely romantic. Hollis and Walt's romance is intense, intimate, and secretive. There's also a really interesting exploration of class here. Hollis lives in poverty and is an established cook and baker out of necessity. The narrative includes the recipes throughout, which was a detail that was really important to Kate Ancrum as it provides accessible information to readers in similar circumstances. And Kate Ancrum's previous book, Icarus, received 5-star reviews. So we're excited to continue to grow their profile. Next. This is a riveting historical thriller, which we're calling The Count of Monte Cristo meets Bridgerton, as revenge, romance, and twisted secrets takes center stage in Victorian England's royal court when Sally, who's a kidnapped African princess and goddaughter to Queen Victoria, plots her way to take down the monarchy that stole her from her homeland. This is loosely inspired by the true story of Sarah Forbes Bonetta, Queen Victoria's African goddaughter. This also has a really swoon-worthy romance to it, so it's not just all murder and mayhem. Sarah Raleigh is the beloved author of critically acclaimed fantasy series Bones of Ruin and Effigies, and this is her debut dive into the historical thriller genre. So we're excited for this little pivot of hers. Next. So if you were on the children's call, you heard me talk about the Classics Gone Graphic campaign that our school and library marketing team is doing. This is a campaign where we're taking a bunch of our really kind of widely acclaimed middle grade and teen books and adapting them into graphic novels. And so this is the first teen book we have on that list, A Wizard of Earthsea. And these novels are some of the most acclaimed and awarded works in literature. They've received numerous accolades from National Book Awards, Newbery Honors, Nebula Awards, and many more. And then, Grace, if you go to the next slide, we have some spreads. And this is the same artist as our To Kill a Mockingbird and Brave New World graphic novels that we've done on the adult side. So we're really excited to bring Fred over to this property. Okay. And then I just wanted to note that we have the third book in the Unordinary series, which is a webtoon kind of blockbuster series. This continues with a whirlwind of drama, conflict, and secrets as a rogue group called Ember wreaks havoc, attacking the students of Wellstone High. And Unordinary has 1.2 billion views, 5.8 million subscribers, and a rating of 9.74 on Webtoon. So it's really well regarded there. And again, we have some spreads on the next slide. This has a manga-like art style, and it's really action-packed storytelling. So it's situated really nicely among fan favorites like My Hero Academia and Solo Leveling. And our book, because this was on Webtoon, this will have some new and exclusive content. And then we just got our summer reading promo approved today, and books 1 and 2 of the series will be in the summer reading program next year. So excited for that. And next. Okay. So when Kirby breaks her arm at the rock climbing invitationals, she's sidelined for the season and is forced to join the newspaper club for some desperately needed extra credit. There, she's recruited by Bex Santos to orchestrate Matches Made in Heaven for her astrology-based love advice column. Kirby soon begins to wonder if their own planets could be aligned, but it's not so easy for Kirby to embrace her queer identity when she owes so much to her family and their church community. What would it be like to believe your fate was written in the stars? And again, we have some spreads on the next slide. And I just want to note that this is from Laura Gao, whose graphic memoir, Messy Roots, received 3-starred reviews and dozens of accolades. And Kirby's Lessons for Falling in Love will also be part of that summer reading program as well. And last, so this is the history of everything, and Daisy and Agnes have always been best friends. So when Agnes's mom drops the bombshell that they're moving at the end of the summer, the girls are crushed. All seems lost until the pair unearth the history of everything, an old friendship scrapbook with the ultimate bucket list to make their last summer together unforgettable. But when Daisy starts dating, her social calendar suddenly has less room for her best friend. As insecurities bubble to the surface and the girls begin to question if their friendship is really meant to last the summer, much less forever. Again, we have some spreads on the next slide. And this is from Victoria Evans, who has worked as a designer and color stylist for many high-profile companies like Disney, Mattel, Marvel, and Netflix. And this is her graphic novel debut, and it's really a knockout. The illustrations are so unique. And yeah, so that is it from me. So I think we're running a little bit early, but thank you guys so much for being here, and let me know, reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. That was so wonderful, Megan. We appreciate you. Just wanted to say a big thank you to all of our publishing partners today. It has just been a pleasure to have you present all day long with children's and teen librarians, and we are just so thankful. So we're going to pivot, and I think we have Ibi Zaboy on. Ibi, are you able to share to turn your camera on? And I am so excited to introduce her. There, oh, perfect, excellent. Hi, Ibi, thank you so much for joining us. A little introduction for Ibi. Ibi Zaboy is the New York Times best-selling author of American Street, a National Book Award finalist, Nigeria Jones, a Coretta Scott King Award winner, Pride, My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich, Okoye to the People, a Black Panther novel for Marvel, and the Walter Award and LA Times Book Prize winning Punching the Air, co-written with exonerated 5-member Yusuf Salam. She is also a 2-time Coretta Scott King Honor Award winner for her picture book, The People Remember, and her middle grade biography of Octavia Butler, Star Child. She's the editor of the anthology Black Enough. Born in Haiti and raised in New York City, she now lives in New Jersey with her family, and you can find her online at ibizaboy.net. Thank you so much for being here with us, Ibi. It is such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I have some questions for you, but then I know we have some librarians here who will have some questions as well. Feel free to put those in the chat and we'll get to them right after. So the first thing I wanted to, of course, ask you, Ibi, is about your newest title, Skin. Tell us a little bit about it.
So Skin is my fantasy debut, but I actually was writing fantasy 20 years ago. That was the first genre I ventured into when I wanted to be a writer. And the first kind of world that I wanted to experiment with was my own culture, and that is Caribbean folklore and Haitian mythology. And I played around a lot with a certain kind of character from the Caribbean called the Sukuyan or the old hag. And it's a sort of vampire, but not in a Dracula kind of way, but in it's usually an old woman who sheds her skin at night and shapeshifts into a fireball. We can probably think she's a meteor or a comet and flies across the sky to reach her victims and sort of inhale the souls or the life force of their victims. Sometimes it's their blood. But in my iteration of that folklore, the Sukuya are also teen girls.
I just love what you've created here, and it's such an interesting and fascinating read. Yeah, I'm really excited for everyone to read it. So tell us a little bit about what you love about writing, maybe what inspires you, or maybe who inspires you, either when you started writing or now, or maybe a mix of both.
So I was in the house a lot. I was like a very sheltered kid, and I watched a lot of TV. I can't say that I read a lot because we lived in a book desert, and because my mom was immigrant and because of the language barrier, I didn't often visit the library. So I was always in my head, and I was making up stories, and those stories were based on what I was watching on TV. And when I did read books, I fell into those imaginary worlds. Some of my first inspiration was Edwidge Danticat, who's also a Haitian writer, and Octavia Butler, whom I wrote about. So I wanted to merge those two worlds of writing speculative fiction and based on my own culture. And I also love tackling social justice issues, which are most of my books. So with Skin, there are some social justice issues with this story. This is about two girls. One is newly arrived migrant who left the islands, and I don't name the islands for a very important reason. And there's another girl who is American and she's very privileged, but she longs for a mother she never knew and a culture that she doesn't quite understand. So here I have the migrant journey, the newcomer story, which I explored in American Street, and I also talk about colorism and pretty privilege and beauty dynamics because the title of this book is Skin. And you know, those saying beauty is skin deep. Or there's another saying, quote by Zora Neale Hurston, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And this is where I got the title from. Excuse me, I'm just recovering from a cold if I sound a little hoarse.
It's that season. We get it. I love that you were thinking up stories before you even started writing years and years before. I think that's fabulous.
Absolutely.
When you're writing, tell us a little bit about how you start. You've written so many different kinds of books, the biographical Constellation of Octavia Butler, which is just beautiful. Tell us a little bit about your process, about all those different books.
It's very chaotic. I was telling one of my editors today, I don't like working on one book at a time. I need a break from one project and jump into another. And those projects are usually very different. And I can't write two novels at the same time. So this is why I love exploring nonfiction. And while I'm writing a full novel, I was exploring a novel in verse, which is this one. And I love experimenting with forms and format. And I love to write, but I need to give myself some grace and some breaks so that I don't get exhausted. And the way I do that is to switch genres and switch forms, play around with how I tell the story and the kind of research that I do.
Hmm. I think a lot of the librarians on here, and I'm one of these people too, also, who read different books at the same time because it's depending on how you feel and you need a break from a book for a little while. And it sounds like you write similarly when you need breaks to kind of pick up a different genre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you tell us something about yourself that maybe your readers may not know yet?
Oh, let's see. I love to sew. If I were to pivot this camera, you would see my sewing machine to my left. And I don't do it often, but I'm getting back into it. And I don't sew like with a pattern. I like making simple things like drawstring pants. So I'm getting started on some holiday gifts right now and giving everybody some drawstring pants. And my kids do not wear them outdoors. They're like indoor and going to sleep. And I just allows me to do something different with my hands and with my mind. And I watch, silly TV while I'm sewing, and that allows me to get ideas flowing too when I just rest my brain for a second. I'm also plotting. I'm also developing characters. I'm thinking about writing while I'm doing something else with my hands.
Yeah, I think there's a book out there. I think it's by Adam somebody, but he talks about how trying doing something else for a while, your mind's still working on things in your subconscious, and it's wonderful. Sounds like you have so many creative outlets. You're just a highly creative person. Um, are there any genres you haven't yet explored that you would like to explore in the future?
Well, this is fantasy, but it's a fantasy in poem, and this is I did not see too many books like this. And I think my publisher calls it groundbreaking, and I'm fine with that. But I really wanted to do something different. And Caribbean folklore lends itself to telling the story in a lyrical way. And that's exactly what I do. I did try and publish science fiction stories. And I know YA and science fiction is not necessarily having a moment right now. I also want to explore dystopia. I have some great ideas, but I think I'm waiting for when it comes around again, or maybe not. I have so much to say about the world we live in and how young people can possibly save it.
We look forward to that, your future in those genres. I mean, I think that sounds fantastic. Tell us a little bit about writing in verse and how you feel that maybe it adds to the plot or the characters.
So I am most comfortable writing lyrically. Uh, when I don't get to play around with pretty language, when I don't get to be musical, it's harder for me to write those sentences. I love working with metaphor. Uh, I love writing nonfiction, even in poetry, and I've done that in picture book form. So this is kind of like my default way to write is in poetry and with lyrical language and sweeping metaphors. So this is comes fairly easy to me, but it's hard to write, but it comes easily, if that makes sense. The
Yeah.
ideas come, implementation is usually harder, but I'm up for the challenge.
Mm. It sounds like it's a really lovely way to, um, I think it's a lovely way to bring your readers closer to what you enjoy writing. I think it's fantastic. Um, and I'm just so excited to see what you do next. I know we might have, I'm going to pop over to the chat. Put your questions in the chat if you have them. Let me open that up. Okay, let's see. All right, let's see. Sorry, my computer's going a little slowly, so my chat is slow to open here. And then scrolling down. So many people have messaged today. Thank you so much for joining in. We've got a few people leaving. Well, I would also like to ask a little. Oh, okay. Yep, there we go. You've written about Octavia Butler. Who else is an inspiration is one of our questions in the chat.
So I share a birthday with Octavia Butler, and another person I share a birthday with is a dancer by the name of Catherine Dunham, and I want to write about her. So I did start early on wanting to dance, and I remember thinking these two pioneers, I share a birthday with these two pioneers. I could either go the dancing route or the writer route. So I love the innovation that Catherine Dunham brought to her art form, and inspirations for me are not just writers, they are dancers, they're installation artists, they're photographers. So Catherine Dunham is one of those people.
That's fantastic. I think that would be absolutely lovely. I mean, something else I wanted to ask you about was when you're writing, do you have a specific sort of zone you get into? Are you go to a coffee shop and write kind of person, or you need, absolute quiet? What kind of a, headspace do you have to get into when you write?
So I'm a mom, and when I first started publishing, my children were very little. So I could write at any setting in any environment. So I think my default Way to write is with a lot of people around. I need some chatter. I need some noise to get me in that flow state. I think you're frozen.
Yep, just got a message that Grace is having a little bit of technical difficulties at her location. Hi, Ibby, it's Allison Curtin. I'm the marketing manager at Baker and Taylor. What other type of inspiration would you give to young writers? Our librarians out in the field a lot will have events with young writers and young readers, and they're really in the throes of it, in the trenches with young people. When you have a young person that comes to you and says, I want to be a writer, what is the first thought you have? And then what is the first thing you might say?
I always like to tell young people to, and it's a hard thing to say to young people or any writer for that matter, is to read more than you write. It's hard for me to do now as a writer. I want to take in more stories than I'm putting out. I need inspiration, as much inspiration as I can possibly get. And I would want young people to really be inspired by everything they're consuming so that they have a breadth of just books, stories to pull from when they're ready to write their own stories.
Looks like we have Grace back. I'm going to pass the baton back over to my colleague.
So
Thank
sorry.
you, Evie.
Everything in my house just turned off. There was a power surge.
Wow.
Sorry about that. A technology kind of day today, I guess. So thank you so much, Allison. Do we have questions in the chat? I'm just opening it back up here. If I missed one, just jump in and let me know, Allison. I know I just asked. Okay, thank you. Got Lisa. How do you choose what you want to write about? You touched on this a little bit, but.
This is very hard to write. I think I have a cue. It's like whenever the ideas come, I put it down on the list and it's like next in line, next. But I usually move from YA to something maybe middle grade or nonfiction or a picture book. I have to like not do a certain kind of book back to back when I'm drafting it. So I think I just, put them in different categories and pick from one. And if Skin is out now, I'm already working on the next book, but I am very much ready to talk about Skin ad nauseum because it lived in my head for so long. So now I'm just ready to share it with the world.
We're excited that you have about that to share it with the world, but also that you have a to-do list of books because we never want to stop reading your books. That sounds fantastic. Sarah's asking, what do your kids think about you being an author? And do they like to read your books?
My daughters have read every single book I put out. They look forward to getting the arcs. They don't quite remember when I'm working on something. Now it's like, oh, another one. So they're happy to read it. They're excited because they're each very different, and they give me their thoughts and opinions. I raised avid readers who love literature and books, so they don't have any problem reading my books. My son, on the other hand, is a different story. With Punching the Air, he just did not want to read that. He was like, Mom, you sure you wrote this? And I'm like, yeah. And he doesn't want me like talking the way he does or something like that. It's like a ew thing for him, but not my daughters.
For sure. I think that's very common with kids. Do they ever give you any ideas? Do your kids ever give you any ideas about books to add to your to-do list for later?
Oh yeah, but I don't like their ideas. I think they get more excited when I share my ideas with them. But they do let me know what they would want to see more out there in the world.
That's wonderful. Another question we have is if you could meet anyone alive, imaginary, or past, who would it be? From Babetta Engel Griffiths.
Oh wow. Man, I would love to have lunch with Emily Dickinson. I would love to Emily Dickinson and Zora Neale Hurston at one table.
That would be absolutely
Just
fantastic.
me, just like a friends, like
Mm.
just me and them having tea and chatting it up about literature.
I love that. I would also like to see how they would interact and what they would talk about as well. I think that's a great response. Thank you so much for that question, Babetta. Any other questions that we have in the chat?
I love your wallpaper, by the way.
Oh, thank you. At Baker and Taylor, our
I'm like
children's
looking at the cats, be like, oh, what's this one doing? What's that?
right. I
It's
know
not distracting, but it's just give me something else to look at too.
we love cats here, so we really commit to our theme. We also have the question, what's on your to be read, EB?
Oh wow. I just got the hardcover of Black Girl Power, which is an anthology I'm part of.
Mm.
So whenever I'm part of a short story collection, I'm excited to read my colleague's story. And
Mm.
I just like sit back and go from, I read my story along with it too, just to see how it all works together.
Mm.
I I am reading Impossible Creatures. And I go through a lot of picture books because I love picture books. If I were to show you, this is like my chaotic writing space. I have a picture book in middle grade section, and then I have a YA section, and then I have like adult book section. So I just hop from different sections to get, my inspiration from different genres.
That's wonderful. So you've got sections of books and then sewing all the
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
different organizations. Charisse is asking if you're familiar with Brenda Jackson and or Beverly Jenkins, and if yes, have you read either of them? Thoughts on their book?
I am very familiar with Beverly Jenkins. I have not heard of Brenda Jackson. I think Beverly Jenkins writes romance, and I'm ashamed to admit it, but if you ask me one genre of fiction that I don't read very often, and it's romance.
Mm.
I just haven't got around to it, and I plan to start probably with Brenda. I'll find out who Brenda Jackson is, but I will definitely start reading Beverly Jenkins.
Mm. There's no shame in that. I mean, it is absolutely blowing up as a category, that's for sure.
I'm like, have I ever not? I started out reading cerebral sci-fi,
Mhm.
and I don't know, like it's relaxing to me. But then I get into romance, and I'm like, oh, where's the cerebral conversation? I don't think it's that for that at all. But I did write Pride, and there's a little romance in there.
Mhm. Wonderful. Oh, Cherie said both of them write romance and have
Mhm.
books in print. So
Yeah, that I know.
plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
Um, and then somebody else asked, who are your favorite picture book authors and middle grade?
Oh wow. Picture books, I like read a variety of picture books, and I don't think I follow one author, and it's based on what I'm writing for myself. Right now, I have a picture book that's coming out called First Day Around the World, and I'm looking at Alexandra Penfold's All Are Welcome series.
Mhm.
Uh, from middle grade, my favorite author is Erin Entrada Kelly. I love everything that she puts out. Um, I love Alicia D. Williams, middle grade, mid-air. So there's some I can think of more. They're not like at the top of my head. Kwame Mbalia's Tristan Strong series. BB Alston. I love my fantasy and I love realistic fiction in the middle grade space.
Mm. There are so many to choose from. It's hard to remember all of them, but that's a good smattering of really fantastic uh,
Mhm.
authors. Any other questions in the chat? Okay. Well, then I just want to say thank you so much, Evie. It was such a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you so much for being here and telling us all about your new book, Skin. We're so excited about it. We are just so happy that we were able to talk to you today. Technology issues notwithstanding.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and I hope everyone looks forward to get it. I promise you, it's like a quick read. I love when you open a book and there's a lot of white space on the page, and I did that for the young readers who are not intimidated by, who are can be intimidated by dense text. So I'm excited to talk about this book so much.
It's an absolutely wonderful read and can confirm it goes very quickly, and I wanted more. So thank you so much, Evie Zaboy. We're so glad to have you. Thank you to all of our publishers who are on today. We are so grateful to have you presenting about all of your wonderful books. Everyone who attended, thank you for being here. We will send you out a little note with your continuing ed credits for today, as well as a recording in the next day or two. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us on the CATS team. We're all here to help with anything you might need. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and thank you again.